issues all over the place. Technical issues on a Wednesday. Let me see if people are getting their notifications though. How you doing today, Coop?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's good to be here. It's always a beast preparing for the show, and then when we get here, it's like cool, we here.
I, I just got my notification.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Things are working then,
Yeah.
and I'm sure people are getting their notifications. Let me go ahead and pin. Let me handle the business real quick and get this Patreon pinned to the top, and we can just go. I see people in here. People are coming in here. What's that? Yo, Coop, when you do that, that shit sounds crazy. It's like you be
Sounds like aliens
scrubbing it like
coming
you're
to
going
visit.
through a car wash or something. What's up to
Right.
everybody in the room? Shout out to everybody in the room. We are here. We are here on a Wednesday. One of my favorite shows. You know what I'm saying? Like Friday's great, but Wednesday we get to chop it up with the people and stuff. How was your birthday weekend?
It was good. It was blessed. I'm really blessed and fortunate to be here to make it through another year. I'm just blessed and fortunate, man. I'll tell you what. I was at work the other day, Mike, and I was on break. And a gentleman came in. He was a war veteran and he was deaf, and
Mm,
it was probably war driven. And he was deaf, but also he had shortened limbs because of what had happened to him during the war. And he was selling some handmade items and stuff to try to make a living up off of. And
mm,
I gave him some extra money, and I just realized how bad I didn't have it.
yeah,
Yeah. And
man.
just felt blessed and fortunate in that moment. That was like the day after my birthday that happened. You know what I mean? And so to be sitting there at work, like on my downtime, and to see somebody, that literally has to get out here and go door to door and hope somebody has the heart to see his plight, you
Yeah.
know?
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful,
Yeah.
man. And
Yeah.
shout out to the
So,
veterans out there too. While
yeah.
everybody's coming in the room, my grandfather would have turned 100 years old today. He was a veteran. Rest in
Oh,
peace to him.
blessings.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a very admirable thing, and people deserve to be taken care of. They put their life on the line, literally.
Mike, I was raised by military men. My uncle, who God rest his, my uncle and my grandfather were both military men. They both died on December 26th, different years, but on the same day. And they were military men. They were the men who really shaped me. My grandfather fought in the Korean War. My uncle in Vietnam, and I come from a family of taking care of those. So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
Let me go
and
to my
as do
notes
you,
real
as
quick.
do you. Yeah,
I'm gonna go to my notes for this show so people can understand where we coming from with this show because we got a lot to cover. I
we do.
got the BET Awards, like the good, the bad, the ugly, and there was definitely a lot of all of that. And I don't want to be that get off my lawn guy. There was some dope shit that was going on in that award show, but it was also some questionable shit too. And I got Fat Joe and his uses of the N word and people's reaction to that. He explained that on the Breakfast Club. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about this Rome Streets album that we really didn't get a chance to really delve into Friday. We're gonna talk
Mhm.
about Kanye West and the White Lives Matter shirt. A lot of people have been messaging us, wanting us to talk about that. The Black Star interview, where they were very critical of their critics per se. Um, Kendrick Lamar got 6 awards at the BET Hip Hop Awards. I got that on my notes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else kind of centers around one another. But where should we start, man? You know, ugh,
I can do the show like this, Mike, and I know the people can see you, but I still can't see
you
you, and
can't
we've
see
been
me. Let
having
me
to solve
fix
these
this real
technical
quick.
difficulties.
Let me fix this real quick because I want you to be able to be,
Well, yeah, it's
focused.
easier for me to interact when I can actually see you and don't have to like delve into the screen and the chat as much. You know what I'm saying? And I got to
Yeah,
be flexible too, because I want to get off in my notes too, because we do have a lot to cover, and I want to have the opportunity. There we go for
you
us
can
to
see
kind
me.
of like,
Can you
yeah,
see
I
me?
can see you.
Okay, cool, cool. Jay Short says, Coop, since it was your birthday, who are the top 3 to 5 club rappers of all time? I'll say LL, Snoop, 50, Buster, and anyone with Pharrell. Peace, fellas. Club. Y'all ain't got
Club.
Jigga in the club? Jigga gets that one. Biggie gets that too.
I was about to say, I mean, Big and Tupac in the club is probably. You see, here's the thing. I was fortunate enough to kind of be trifling enough to be outside when Big and Pac were like barely alive and be out on that scene just a little bit as a youngster, but also to see the effect of it after they passed. I told you, Mike, Juicy, everybody knows Juicy word for word. I mean, when California Love comes on, it's like, and so, like, how about this? Very few artists you could have like a club mix for like 15 minutes and play, and like people wouldn't say nothing. And so I would think LL has that.
Yep.
I
LL got
think
bangers.
I think Tupac has that. I think Biggie has that. I do think Jay potentially has that because here's what's cool about him. Like with PSA and You Don't Know, he has B-sides that are club staples.
Yeah. I think Wayne's in that too. He's just on so many records,
I was actually thinking Cash Money in general.
I think he surpassed it, and he's a part of that Cash Money.
No, I mean, this is what I mean. Like, when I think about like club, it's like you could literally play like Bling Bling, Back That Ass Up, Ha, Cash Money is an army, Get Your Roll On, Big Ballin'. Like you could play Project Chick, like you could play a stream of their songs and the club would just like stay on fire for an hour.
You're right.
Like it would. It would.
Boy King says the new Billy Days is fire. And what's best about it is that it's not on some MOP yelling stuff that they're known for. That's interesting. I gotta check that out, man. I know, man, MOP's dope. And they were on that Rap City 22 that was on yesterday too before the awards. We're gonna talk about that. But I do want to say something real quick, man. There are two projects that I'm really anticipating in hip hop. One of them is the Liz 2, which we don't have a date on, which we're hearing. You kind of went out for a second, Coop. You good?
No.
Okay, you good? All right, yeah, I see you now. Yeah. The Liz 2 from Armani Caesar. And we don't have a date on that yet, but we're hearing that there's going to be a date soon. I'm really anticipating that. And I'm really anticipating Friday getting this Quavo and Takeoff Unc Few album.
To the Armani Caesar thing, I finally watched the Paula Deen video.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love the video.
I liked the video.
I didn't love the video. And I was actually watching the video this morning when I was at work for a minute. And that's what made me want to hear the cipher again. Like, because I wanted to make sure, like, she killed it the way I thought that she killed it when I got home last night.
Whoa, hold up. 1021, the Liz 2? Is that official, Darren Harris? Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That. No, you're fine. I like that. You can definitely
breaking news
for a Liz update. Yeah. But, I mean, her ball game and her voice right now, Mike, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited with you. Not as excited about Unc Few. But I was just like on IG seeing like the preview that they just like, they just had their little preview down here the other night. And I know a couple of people that were in the room that were,
So have you heard pieces of the album?
I haven't, but okay. I know somebody who has and was pretty impressed, but they're more of a fan like you are too. So, Listen, I don't know what the objectivity looks like because of where the source, because of my source.
Right.
I think source is kind of like you, and like, because here's the thing too. It's like I think for you as a fan, and I say this respectfully because I enjoy Culture 1, but don't consider myself to be a fan like you. I think you were looking for reasons to like Culture 2 more than I did.
I didn't like Culture 2 like that.
Was it 3? I feel like we had a conversation.
I didn't like 3 either. I think it just was a decline from 1, 2 to 3. I think 2 was just too long, and 3, I think we talked about this on the show. It lacked that chemistry, and I think that the chemistry that we were looking for exists in Quavo and Takeoff. I saw a little bit of their Big Facts interview where they were talking about, it was a clip about the breakup somewhat. And Quavo's kind of like, it's a duo now. And you know how I feel about the fact that I think that Quavo's probably one of the best group leaders hip hop's ever seen.
How? I mean,
I don't.
okay, so when you say that, okay, that's like saying, I'm trying to think of like a great player on a bad team, like that had
They're
like a
not a
great season
bad
or two.
team though,
No, no,
bro.
no, no,
Like
no. Listen to what
they've
I'm
done some
saying.
great
Like,
things.
like there have been teams. Like, do you remember? Like, I feel like, you remember like some of those like '80s Utah Jazz teams that had like Adrian Dantley and like other guys on, and Alex English, like Adrian Dantley and like Alex English.
Yeah, I
Like
know what
you,
you're talking
you
about.
remember like those Nuggets and those Utah Jazz teams.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there was a Hall of Fame player on those teams, respectively, in Alex English and Adrian Dantley. But when you look at it in the lexicon of Hall of Fame players, neither one of those guys are considered. Do you think Adrian Dantley or Alex English are top 75 players?
I think because of where they played and what they didn't play for, it's hard to really put them in that conversation. But I don't
Right.
think that applies to the Migos, though.
No, no, no. I'm speaking about Quavo being like the only potential Hall of Fame player, and he might be a great leader, Mike. But it really doesn't matter if you like don't like make it to like the championship. And culture is like the really only time making it to the championship round. The rest of the stuff has been disappointing.
I think this is the thing, though. And again, we're in a different era. I think that we're in an era of people making hit records. And when it comes to making hit records over the past 10 years, you'd be hard pressed to find many people who have more hit records than this guy's put his voice on, and
But
the
what I would,
collective, and the
but what
fact
I,
that they're a group in an era of soloists. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that I'll give you.
because there aren't groups, and so the way songs are manufactured now, they're not even made for groups. Niggas ain't sitting around here listening to three verses anymore. They made that possible.
I will agree with you on all of those accounts. You're actually making some strong statements with that. Um, what I'm trying to tell you is that those hits that you're talking about, like I don't know where you've been, Mike, but it's like we're like getting to be closer to 5, 6, 7 years removed from those hits you're talking about. Because these stuff, the stuff that's really been coming out the last 3, 4 years, I wouldn't call these songs hits. It's like they kind of cycle through for a week or two, or maybe for a month. That's not a hit, Mike. So he might be making some quality stuff, but he ain't been making hits like that. They haven't been making hits like that. That was kind of the thing with culture. Culture is like full of hits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they set the bar very high, and
They
I
did.
think, and then I think when it comes to the split, a lot of people will point to Bad and Bougie when it comes to Offset, and they'll point to Cardi B and those things. But for me, in my personal opinion, I think the separation came when Offset did 10 million with Ric Flair drip, and those are some things that I mean. He knew he could do it as a soloist, and he did it as a solo artist on that record, and that record's everywhere. And I think that from that point, we've kind of seen a level of separation and disengagement when it comes to him and the rest of the group.
So I'm gonna say this respectfully. If
Mhm.
I can just give you a quick rebuttal before you go further, and
Yeah,
let's
go
like
ahead.
now, Mike, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and like coming from Charlotte in the era that I grew up in, and my older cousins being who they are, and what wrestling is in Charlotte, there's nothing bigger than putting Ric Flair on something. One of the biggest surprises of my adult life, like in my 30s and now 40s, is the way Ric Flair is to everybody else, how he was to us in Charlotte. So just Quavo putting the name Ric Flair
Offset.
drip on the song off the rip, and it being Quavo. Oh well, that's 5 mil right there, Mike.
Offset.
And so that's not about the quality of the song or it being a hit.
No,
That's
no, no, no,
5 mil
no.
off rip by calling the song Ric Flair drip and it being Quavo.
No,
So
no,
like
this
I
is
don't
this
so
is
like so
Offset song.
oh
Offset
is
song.
it
Yeah.
Mike, that makes it like a little bit better, but you get what I'm saying? It's
I
like it's
understand
Ric
what you're
Flair.
saying, and I think
Mike,
you're
I've told you about my Ric Flair stories. He literally might be the most charismatic and entertaining person I have ever met face to face.
I met him a few times too, but what I'm saying is the fact that that solo venture for Offset and doing that, I think, is what separated him from the group. And I agree with you. I think
Love
what
some
he's
Ric Flair.
finding out now is that was more about the Ric Flair name than the song itself, the success of that song.
Right. That's what I
Numeric.
mean. So this is what I mean. They're not making really hits anymore. It's just all of their names are so big. I'm sorry for getting it wrong because you're right. That is Offset song. But what I'm saying is their names are so big and the way that they kind of label and tag their songs now, it's like, well, that don't make it a hit. Like, what's that? It's that quality thing, Mike. And I want to get into this
You
with
don't
the
think
kids.
Straightening was a hit?
I think it was more pop culture reference than hit. That's what I mean.
Well, they created the pop culture reference with that.
They did.
Yeah. We talking about the
No, they
same
did.
group that created the dab. We talking about the same group that did, Bando and that whole subgenre
Okay.
there. We talking
But
about
this
the
is what I
same
mean.
group that
Okay, so
did Hannah
straightening, do you think
Montana.
no,
Yeah.
you're right. No, and you're saying things that are true. Is straightening the quality of record that those other records you just named? Because like even with the
I
whole
don't
Look at My
think so.
Dad, like no, that record's just more entertaining than straightening. It
No,
is.
I agree with you. CJ Kid with the super chat says, "Did you guys watch Black Star explanation on the backlash that they have been getting? They addressed was it Fantino, but I feel you guys had a lot to do with their response, low key. We're gonna
What
talk
did I
about
say?
that. We had a lot of conversations about that as well. So
I was about to say, we're going
yeah,
to get into that. That's definitely on the docket. I told
yeah.
you, Mike. Other people heard that interview and said the same thing that I said. I was like, hold on. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about me and Mike.
We're gonna get to that. And
What are you talking about?
I want to handle this with a level of sophistication, because I think there's a big part that they're missing. But we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Fantasy
we are.
Seven.
You and I talked about it. I think
Mhm.
you're I think we're both disappointed and concerned with some things, and because of that, we have to like address it a certain type of way as
Yeah, I
well.
mean,
So
because the
that, like
music's
we're
never
understood
been the
more clearly.
concern. The music has
Maybe,
never been the concern. I think we've said
yeah.
a million times on this show, this could possibly be album of the year if we talking
Well,
about the music
I
itself.
mean, here's the reality of the matter, and we can just hold it off. This album not being album of the year started with the people on here telling us like, nah, that album ain't like that. They ain't like that, and started running down the critiques on us.
Yeah,
All right, the
I tried
people
to
gave it
defend
to
it.
us, and that's what made me stop and think. It's like, well, hold on, because
Yeah.
we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantasy 731 says, "What do you guys think about Kenny Mason and Grip? Both are artists to me. Novice is also another great artist. Y'all should check out. We'll check them out. I've heard a few things from Kenny.
Me too. I
Not
was
too
like
much on
thinking, I
Grip.
don't know the other two, but I know Kenny Mason.
Yeah. CJ Kid with the super chat says, "You guys see Joe Budden put Jay-Z over Nas on the complex bracket based off of his God did verse and still acknowledged KD2 and Magic." Shaking my head. Joe Budden got bills to pay, as we all do, but
Let's say,
yeah, it is what it is, man.
it's very problematic.
Jason says, "What was the last classic hit that we got? Love the verses. Keep doing what you're doing. Peace." Yeah, we appreciate that. Actually, the Patreon's at the top of the chat. We had fun doing the Brooklyn and Queens verses, and it's been close the whole time. The poll's still going. I mean, we'll probably go in and check out some of them songs if we got some time and check out some of the matchups, but it was really fun. But what was the last classic hit we got from the Migos, I guess they're saying?
That's a fair question.
It probably
Mike?
have to go back to honestly Culture One. I think they put out quality songs since then.
Yes, they've done good songs since then.
Yeah.
You want to know what the last song that I heard?
You know what I really
enjoyed?
like? Not to cut you off. I Need It. I Need It was fire. Where they used that same sample that 50 used on the
Was
master.
that the Pandemic song?
Mm-hmm.
The one before Stripper Bowl?
Yeah, the Draco Undefeated. Hit your block and then I
Yes.
beat it. The one with
Yes.
NBA Youngboy. That shit was hard.
Yes.
And if
I'm
not for
with
the
you on
pandemic, it would have been way bigger.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that one. Yeah, that was the last one that I remember. I can't even remember the name of the record. I'm like, the one before Stripper Bowl? Yeah, that's the one. That's the last banger.
Stripper Bowl.
But what was that, Mike?
Too.
That was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago. It wasn't 5.
No, I mean they're big. I'm just getting into quality. I told you, Mike, like Bad and Bougie and T-shirts are like on an all-time like Atlanta club playlist, and that's hard to do.
Yeah,
hard to do.
Great records, and I think what gives me hope too is when I hear like the DJ Khaled and I hear the Party song with Takeoff and Quavo, where they sample Eddie Murphy. That shit's hard.
Did you like Drip? With Cardi, came through dripping, drip, drip.
No, I
Came through
didn't.
dripping. You didn't like drip?
Nah, it didn't really stick to me like that. It was cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
like
I'm
drip.
just looking forward to seeing what Quavo and Takeoff are able to do because we know that they got chemistry. We know they're able to make hits with each other, and I think that depending on how this album turns out, I think it will validate some of my statements of how high I hold Quavo and his ability to keep this group together, and let everybody
Let it
else shine.
go.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think from the jump, everybody knows that from the jump with Hannah Montana and Bando and Versace, he was the focal point. He's the hook guy. He's probably gonna start off the song. He was the star. But
Yes.
even with that being the focal point with them walking in the door, somehow he was able to delegate to the point where Offset becomes a star, right? And then
Mhm.
we've seen moments where Takeoff's able to be a star. Not every group leader can do that. Like I don't think Q-Tip, in my opinion, was able to do that successfully. He did a great thing with the low end theory, and I think Spife was able to shine more, but he was still Q-Tip. You know what I'm saying?
Right. He didn't change anything. He still made sure Q-Tip got his rocks off.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
think that even though we got Butter and even though we got Bugging Out, Q-Tip was still like,
The main, the nucleus,
yeah.
the central force.
Now it's to go with the super chat says, did y'all see what Clark Kent rated Jay Z's verse God did as his best feature on B Dot Bracket? So wow, shaking my head. That's what's free and what we do in others over what's free and what we do in others. You know that's wild, man. That's Clark
Just,
Kent. Clark Kent's
just,
been there from the beginning. Clark Kent was there
just
before Jay even put down
They just be
records.
they just be saying foolish stuff, Mike. What about Jay's appearance on "I Love the Dough" on Life After Death? Miraculous, pockets stay full, niggas pick the ball because we mad at all. Snatch a penny. Come on,
See, you
man.
know, we try to have shows where we're not talking about Jay Z and Nas, and y'all bring these things up.
No, that's just wrong that he did that. He knows better, Mike.
I'm just
The
gonna
stuff
say
the
this.
stuff that he gave Bleak on What You Think of That, on Hypnotic, the stuff that he gave Beans on It's On, and Uncut Raw. Like come on,
I
man.
mean,
Like come
his
on.
verse, his feature on the College Dropout is better.
Mike, come on. The verse on Black Republican is
It
better. Like,
is.
come on.
The verse on Black Republican is crazy.
Way better. It's
Yeah,
way better
it's
than
not
this
even a
verse.
conversation, man.
He murdered that.
And,
Like,
and, and
come
since we're on
on.
that, man, Joe
Like, come
Button,
on.
Joe Button, man, you gotta chill, man. You can't put one verse over two quality albums. You're an artist, Joe Button. You know what I'm
This
saying?
is
Like, you know how
ridiculous. Do
hard
you
it
remember
is
when Jay
to put
spazzed over
together
the Do
albums.
you remember when Jay rapped over the Who Shot You beat
I
on
love
the
that
Clue
record.
shit? Like, come on, get out of here.
Leroy said Clark Kent didn't say it was his best verse. Okay, good. I'll go
You
find
better
it
not have
and we'll
said
get some
that.
context to it. You remember while we're speaking of Jay, and we'll move on. But you remember what song was that? I think it's called Hova. It was on the DJ Envy. Uh,
Yes.
Watch on rims on tire. Hove in the studio, the booth's on fire. S Carter kicks on my feet. Rock away on my leg, envy on the beat. I make my first meal off Poppy on the hill. I made it on the rap game, speaking on the reels. I passed the statute of limitation, and I'm making too much money to be going to jail. That record was crazy.
Like jigging my niggas on a Rough Riders compilation.
Yeah. Who else
The
you
whole
know on
song's a
probation?
feature.
What do you say? Who else you know on probation? Leave the country for a month to go on vacation. Listen, Nugs, get your brain on drugs. Listen, bud, because the flow's like cocaine dust. Heron hero. Do anything for De Niro. Like Joe Pesci. Hove is so deadly. In the middle of the ocean, racing on jet skis. Get your mind right to get it on your left sleeve. Woo! And y'all say we Jay-Z haters, man. I'm a fan. Like, I'm a
Big
fan.
fan.
I'm a big
It's not
fan.
that I'm just a fan. Like I said, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I quote stuff off Volume 1 like it happened like 2 or 3 years ago, religiously.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you didn't use Biggie and Jay as much as I thought you would have in the Brooklyn matchup, man. What I noticed, though, from our research, or from my research with Queens, and the way you were responding to my records, Brooklyn got those hardcore records. It was tough for me to match some of the hardcore records. I had to match them with big records. Queens got the big records.
See, that's what I mean is like you had the pure hip hop records. I had bangers.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn makes bangers. And it was like, well, I'm not going to try to play your game and play pure hip hop records. Like, I'm going to play bangers. Like, I only played a few pure hip hop records, Mike, like The Symphony.
Yeah.
Dead Presidents.
Dead Presidents beating Made You Look. I wasn't looking for. I'm glad it happened because I would have voted that way, but I thought Made You Look was going to be a win for me.
And so, but what I was surprised by was that how people always took the classic hip hop song over the banger. Like when people, like I told you, it's like the world is yours. Who shot your thing? And I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm not going to say anymore. You got to sign up for the Patreon.
Yeah, definitely. The Patreon's at the top of the link, at the top of the chat, excuse me. Jay Short says, Hot Boys and Migos. This is what I'll say.
Hot Boys.
Hot Boys just didn't do enough. But yes, in a vacuum, Hot Boys. I mean, because they're a group 3/4 of successful soloists. Juvenile's a whole problem.
You want to know what? You know when I realized they were big, Mike? When The Block Is Hot came out and Juvenile and BG were doing the hook together for Wayne shit. That's when I was like, they're really, really big. They're really, really dope. Really dope. This record's dope.
I think that Quavo specifically follows the Hot Boys formula. And I think that one year, it might have been the year they dropped Culture 2. 2017, they dropped all solo efforts. And it reminded me of those Cash Money days because all of those solo efforts kind of sounded like they were Migo records, but they were just, you know what I'm saying? Like they were just solo songs. Like they all could have been done in the same session. It's like, okay, well this song goes to you, whatever. Except for Offset. Offset didn't end up coming out in that year because he kept pushing his album back and he wanted a different sound than everybody else, seems like. So our man with the super chat says, peace. Did y'all listen to Trina and Saucy Santana's song, No Voting, No Vucking? That's with a V. Pure buffoonery. LOL. Election season equals minstrel show. Well, I'm glad you said that. Because, did you hear that, Coop? Because I heard it. You heard that song?
No, I haven't heard the song. I just heard
it's minstrel stuff. First of all, man, it's very disappointing that is the way that the political apparatus feels like they need to reach out to the hip-hop population. You got to hear it, man. It's terrible.
It is?
Oh, it's terrible. You might want to hear it during the show. I don't know, but I don't know. It's not too... Listen, again, I don't like hip-hop artists getting involved in politicians. I mean, involved with politicians and politics. I got on the screen right now, I don't know if you see it. It's Jeezy and Stacey Abrams.
I saw it.
I think it's problematic when, especially with the things that Atlanta's going through right now from a legal standpoint with YSL, Young Thug, and all these things, when you have a candidate in Stacey Abrams, going to be the Democratic candidate for the governor of Georgia, attending a snowball, or that's what they're calling it, with Jeezy's Snowball. And Jeezy's album is coming out with drama. I think it's a Gangsta Grill, coming out on like the 21st, I believe. It's called Snowfall. and it has like cocaine dripping on the cover and all that stuff. I I just think listen, man. Stacey Abrams, 48 years old. She knows what snowman means. She knows what snowball means. She knows what all these things mean. She's not oblivious to what all of those things mean, and I think that it sends a bad message altogether, man. It's just problematic all around. It's illegal activity that you're clearly currently really coming down on hip hop artists for and using lyrics in the courtroom, and you got this going on.
I'm I'm not being funny when I say this. Stacey Abrams already has the black vote, so it's like, what is she doing?
Does she? She must not.
Yes, she does.
Okay.
Have you? I mean, unless you're interested in another out of touch white guy running this state, which is typically what it's been resorted to. I think we've had two Democratic governors actually of this state, Mike, since we've been alive, and we're approaching our 40s. So, I mean, it's like, it's a pick your poison type of thing. So I'm just not understanding the rationale when she already kind of like has the zones that she needs to have in the black community like on lock. The determining factor is going to be the rural areas. And so the door knocking and the campaigning and the educating those who are not educated on the politics of this state and who she is and what she brings to the table needs to be at the forthright, not no snowball.
Well,
In
this is
my
the
humble
thing.
estimation. I
This
mean, I
is the
could be
thing.
wrong. It's just like going to a snowball when you got the black community on lock and these white people who, never mind.
Well, this is the thing, though, Coop. I think at this point, not to get too deep into it, because I just hate when hip hop artists get involved with politicians in this way. Not to get too deep into it, this whole boogeyman thing, it's not working for the Democratic Party anymore. And when you get on 85 South's podcast and they ask you what you're specifically going to do for black people, and you tell them, well, I can't do anything for black people because that black people don't make up enough numbers to get me in office. Well, we're like, well, fuck you then. Sorry. It's like, it
So
is
you
what
can
it
go.
is. You can't have a constituent. We're the only constituency that people feel like they can just say they're not going to do anything for you, and you got to accept that. At some point, there's a straw that broke the camel's back, and people are
Yeah,
tired of that. The imagery means nothing.
I get what I get what you were saying. She is speaking from the mindset of an affluent black woman who's speaking to an affluent black community that is going to vote. You're talking about a demographic that is probably not going to vote for anybody, quite
Yeah.
frankly. I mean, and I don't want to get into the logistics of whether that's right or wrong. I think that's more about, personally about how you feel about some things as a person of color or descent, depending on where you come from in this nation, and what type of privileges have not been provided to you in fairness. And so, if you don't vote, I'm at a place in my life where I'm not going to like sit up there and castigate you and forebode you and tell you that I don't understand, because quite frankly that I do. And so what the black people who don't reside in those affluent circles need to realize that she still is speaking to a black populace that feels the way that she feels. I know a lot of affluent black people that, do not believe in helping, that don't practice lifting as we climb, because they don't feel like those that need to be pulled up are really doing enough inherently themselves. Because a lot of them come from those same circumstances. And it's like, well, Coop, you're from such and such and such and such and look like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that there is also, this is the thing. I think that we always talk about actions speak louder than words. With what's going on in Mississippi right now, where they don't have clean water, and it's black communities, it would go a long way if people like herself and Warnock, who are spending all this time and money on these campaign ads that we're seeing every second of the day, go out there and do something. That shit goes a long way. Because people will really see you about that action. The problem is, like you said, there are some affluent people who feel like the people at the bottom aren't doing enough to get up out, but the
Mhm.
people at the bottom feel like you're not doing enough on the ground to give a fuck. Unless it's time to come out there and have me stand in line to get you in power. And you get in power, then you give everybody your ass to kiss. That's just what they've
So
been doing.
no, they have. And politics can be a funny thing. And this is what I mean about the influence of who she's speaking to. I'm fortunate enough, my guy have a lot of different crowd circles that I move in.
Mm-hmm.
I know this older family. It's this Italian family. They're married. They lived up here in my area. They're probably in their late 50s, early 60s now. I haven't seen them in some time, but we were very close once upon a time. And we talked about some of the racial dynamic and the issues. And one of the things that the husband would tell me, he's like, well, Armand, he was like, he's like, I don't have an issue with black people at all. He's the reality of the matter is he's like, one black guy works in my office, Armand. He's like, I'm at the top of the food chain in my company and in my building. There's only one black guy up there. He's like, he is one of my dearest friends. He's like, he's been working in the building with me for 15 years. And so we're actually at a holiday party. Me and this other black man, we're the only two black guys at this party, Mike, up here in East Cobb, okay?
All right.
As guests. You feel what I'm saying? And, me and the Italian friend, the mutual friend, the white guy, I just had to have a conversation with him afterwards. I was like, I can tell that you're not biased about my people. I was like, because me and this black guy are nothing alike. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so you have to understand that who Stacey Abrams speak to is that other black guy was in the room with. You feel what I'm saying? Like he came from a full private school and suburban type. You know what I'm saying? Like he came from all the trimmings and all the American dream. And so his understanding of politics was more in line and conducive to how she's been kicking things. And if she's going to kick those things, it's like kick those things. Because it's like, Jeezy does community work. And it's like, but nobody down here is a fool. It's like, you can't use Jeezy for street cred. It's like, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, I don't see how it serves her.
That,
Yeah, that's
all
what I
this.
keep on stressing. It's like on either way you want to call it, Mike, and I get what you're saying. And you're making some excellent points. But what are you doing at the end of the day? It doesn't behoove you either way.
You
Like
know
she
who
doesn't
messed
speak
that
to me.
up?
She speaks to the other black guy I was in the room with, and she knows that, and I know that, and you know that, and the streets know that. You feel what I'm
Well, the
saying?
reality of the situation is, for that individual party, in my personal opinion, Barack Obama messed that up for everything. You know what I'm saying? Like the imagery wasn't enough. Everybody wants to look back now, like, okay, that was cool, that was great, it was a celebration. But when Trayvon Martin was murdered, what was done? Not only did you have a black president, but you also had a black attorney general who would have been able to see the bias that was going on in that city and in that jurisdiction and move that case somewhere else where it could have been tried fair. None of that none of that happened. So the
No.
imagery didn't do anything, and I think that at the end of the day, people want to know, like, okay, can we get something done for us? Other groups get things done for them with a flash. They don't need to go out there and protest this, that, and the third. They get it done quickly. And when you sit in front of three young black podcasters and basically give them all kind of excuses why you won't be able to do anything for black people, but you want them to activate and get you in, that just doesn't jive anymore, man. It's a different time.
It doesn't. So I'm going to speak frankly with you.
And
like
standing
in a
next to
little bit.
Jeezy ain't gonna do it. And
No, it's definitely
and I
not.
hate it. And I hate it for the artists because the artists are out here losing their credibility for whatever reason. Like, what are you
What did
doing
the
this
artist
for,
do to
Jeezy?
deserve this
Exactly.
credibility hit other than stand next to your ass?
Exactly.
Correct. So can I tell you something just personally what I see?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's cut some of the conjecture and kind of like pierce to what I feel is the crux of the issue. There are a lot of white people here in America that really feel like black people should get over slavery. I'm about to be very, very serious with what I'm saying. The ramifications from slavery created what W.E.B. Du Bois titled in the souls of black folks a veil, a double consciousness where we have to exist in two worlds in order to just exist here on a daily basis. And so at 41 years old, I empathize with her because I can truly understand that this woman is lost and clouded in that veil of double consciousness. and has leaned on the other side of double consciousness that most blacks who fall into affluence fall under, where they may become more concerned with their titles, position, and status than the saving of their souls. That's why the book is called The Souls of Black Folks. It literally talks about how the double consciousness in the veil leans towards the black ideology, leaning towards the white ideology of finance, capitalism, quote unquote democracy, instead of being concerned with what's inside to push your community and your culture forward. She is a product of the systemic, institutional, and actual racism that came after slavery, that is injected into the political system, and she's a product of it. And as an intelligent black man that knows these things and understands these things, I borderline feel sorry for her.
Well, if that's the mission and that's her mission, and the mission's not to look out for the whole, what is she doing all this for? Is she doing all this for just individual
She doesn't know, Mike. No, she's
gratification?
back and forth. That's
I
what the
think she
double
knows.
consciousness in the veil is about. She can't make up her goddamn mind about who she want to be. It's the conundrum of being black and affluent in America.
I think this is the thing. And history gives us a great window into the future. I think that it is imperative to look out for your group, and every other group knows this. Because at the end of the day, when you get shit on by everybody else, all you got left is your group. Unless you shit on your group.
Black Americans are the only class in this world that fail to understand that. Black Americans, not blacks. Black Americans. We're the only class in the system that fail to understand that.
I don't know. I think that blacks in America specifically, because even the Speaker of the House, I forget her name, she's Haitian. Those Haitians were getting beat up and beaten, whipped like slaves trying to come across the border. She didn't say shit. So I think that it's just affluent black Americans not black Americans, blacks in America that have reached a certain level. They feel that they're above the fray in that way, unfortunately, until they meet that day and get that wake up call,
Well, does she know? Well, this is what I mean. Sometimes, if you would know better, would you do better? Does this Speaker of this House know that literally the Haitians are the only people of color in this fucking hemisphere to never get colonized by white people?
She knows
like
that.
If you knew that,
they take great pride in that.
But because she lives in a veil, Mike, she won't speak with the pride or behave with the pride that comes with it.
Yeah. Let me get to these super chats real quick. Blue Collar Hustle says, Mike, you're making very valid points. Oh, thank you. Mad Max says, these same politicians trying to ban drill music but promote snow talk. That's factual information. He says, LOL, that shows you that politics is just a dog and pony show. And see, young people see that. Mad Max is young. They see that and they don't respect this shit. Like, you out here trying to ban drill music, but you got the same party, governor candidate for the governor of Georgia. I'm getting my words tied up. Right. And out here at a snowball? Come on, man. Blue Collar Hustler says,
hold on. This is what I mean, though. Like, so every city got a handbook. I mean, like, I used to manage some spaces down in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Like, I seen Keisha in the spot with some folks before. I seen Kasim in the spot with the folks before. And I ain't talking about at no ball or on live air time.
Blue Collar Hustle says, Stacey is going after the black male vote, Coop, but this is an insulting way of courting black men. Nobody wants to give black men a true agenda. Yeah, no, the times of not giving an agenda are over.
The Spanish and the French were never able to fully colonize Haiti, so they never were fully colonized. They always fought. Like, that's what I'm saying. The Haitians never set up there and was like, oh, we give up. No. They fought until they got it. So that's different. That's not getting colonized. When you consistently fight back, Mike, you're not being colonized. How can you be colonized when you keep fighting back? Next.
What I was going to say is it's like if I'm running for class president, right? And I need the cheerleaders vote for whatever reason. And they come to me and be like, yo, what's in it for us? What are we going to do? And I say, well, I can't do anything for y'all, but I just need y'all vote. Huh? Where does that work? It works because we've allowed it to work. and we've allowed people to bully us into voting and saying that,
No,
people
but
before us got hit over the head, which is true, but they got hit over the head for us to vote for some viable options too.
well, this is what I mean. But what I'm saying is that the whole point of slavery was to separate us and debilitate us, and we are still seeing the existence of it in this candidate in Atlanta, Georgia, which has literally been the safe haven for blacks post-slavery.
I think that the separation you're talking about sounds like from the boule to the rest of us. The people who would be at a brunch, a no name brunch, but you know what I mean, the elitists and the rest of us. Because
No, I do
I
get what
always
you're
find
saying.
it so wild though, and like even in the Jeezy pick and all that. And I'm gonna pick at this because he did this, right? I think it's so wild that we allow people who aren't even in our financial bracket to tell us what's best for us. Like really, you're really gonna sit there and vote for whoever Beyonce tells you to vote for? Her problems ain't your problems. That makes no sense.
She doesn't.
It doesn't matter who's in office to her. Let's just be real. And I'm not saying
Let's
Beyonce is in Beyonce. I'm
hold
talking about
on.
all of
This
the people that are in that celebrity sphere.
No, and you're absolutely right. And so people have to understand, and we're going to have a conversation about this. And I think a more realistic comparison for people to relate to is going to be Talib and Yasin when we talk about the No Fear of Time and Black Star thing.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that if you're listening to somebody like Beyonce Jay's level, Mike, I'm about to break down to you, like as nicely and articulately, intelligently as I can, how out of touch Yasin and Talib have been, and for how long they have been on their level. Like they're out of touch with what you're going through. They know nothing about your regular day life and existence. As much as they try to portray it and kick it to you, the proof is in the pudding and it's in how you talk. That's why Freddie Gibbs' album is the album of the year, because while these guys will speak intelligently about the Flint crisis, on Freddie's album, he's telling you, I got a cousin in Flint that's been fucked up since the water hit. I told you, he's talking to you about the chick that's vandalizing his car. No, that's the guy that's out here living a real life. These are, and we're going to get into it. We can get into it right now. But Mike, to be an intellectual, it has to be applicable.
You're right.
At the point that it is non-applicable, as in your rhetoric, what you say, and how you say it. Well, if it does not apply to the mass, it is not intelligent. It is pseudo-intellectual because it cannot be applied in a format. Mike, it's called the theory of relativity by Albert Einstein for a reason, even though he's a genius, because it's a theory that is relative to something that is relative to man.
And and that's
why
why
talk about things that's not even relative to man, and they want us to capitulate to it. And it's like, no, you do understand there are other black men out here that are your age that are intelligent like you, that understand that you are saying things that, quite frankly, are out of touch because you've never been in touch, because you've been living a life of luxury above the people who you claim to walk with your entire life almost.
And this is exactly why certain people who would listen to Tupac and be like, he the realest, and I ride for Pac, whatever, they'll listen to some of these guys and be like, I can't get into it. It ain't because you ain't nice. It's just like you said, you just out of touch.
Yeah, I mean, you're not, I hate to bring up the old school phrase, keeping it real, but it's like, how real can you keep it when you don't even know what's really going on, fam?
Right. Mad Max to the super chat says Democrats want to lower the voting age, get convicts to vote because the average person tune their fake woke PC babble and put that they got to use. It said not that they got to use hip hop. Now they got to use hip hop. I think that's what he meant to say. You're right. Blue Collar Hustle says both Coop and Mike are making great points. Unfortunately, it feels like being black is being consistently stuck in one big conundrum. It's frustrating. I think this is the thing, though. I think I'm gonna speak for myself as a black American. I think we have to understand that these institutions put billions of dollars into galvanizing our vote for some reason. So obviously we're necessary and we're needed. So I think that we just have to just like we always say, we have to understand our power in every situation. I think that
Right,
you have to
right. And we have
understand the
to,
leverage you have in any relationship that you're in.
Mike, like you got to understand what you're talking about. Like people be so quick. Like I love dumb it down, but sometimes dumb it down is too quick to comment. Like he just said, the theory of relativity isn't about people. Yes, it is because it exists in two theorems, and I'm going to explain the second one to you since dumb it down wasn't privy to this. I feel like I'm talking to Lupe. Dumb it down. General relativity explains the law of gravitation. Okay, so that definitely applies to us, Mike, because it deals with the law of gravitation. Don't you think gravity has something to do with people being here on Earth?
It does.
Case closed and dismissed. Thank you. That's part
Mad
of the
Max with
theory
the
of
soup.
relativity. You get what I'm saying? But I was trying to express the point that even though Einstein is a genius and his theory literally travels into out of space, it literally goes back to keeping human beings on the ground
Yeah,
with gravity. It's relative, which means even though he created the theory of relativity, which deals with astronomical forces, it's still in touch with human beings.
it is. Mad Max with the super chat says Obama was such a hustler. I remember being like 12 and looking at my parents like, you just gonna vote for him because he's black? And I was 12. I saw through Obama. He was just a Dr. King fake. Wow, Mad Max. The youth is fired up, man. Ray Realm says she is one of the many that are bought, blackmailed, and paid for. That's why I only study news that deals with uh, ulterior interior of society. But this is what people are saying, Coop. So I don't know if she got, that vote hands down. Obviously, she's out here working. They see the numbers. They see the polling. They see what people are saying. CJ Kidd says, Coop, you're so full of so much knowledge. Very well spoken and will check dudes and got hands
No,
along
like
with
just like if you're
streets
telling me
backing.
that I don't know what I'm talking about, Mike, and I know the theory of relativity has something to do with gravitational force and pull, which is literally what keeps human beings on the fucking ground. Like, hello. Like, it doesn't get any more simpler than that. It's like when I was explaining to Lupe, it's like, okay, that's the final boss. Okay, he got ghost writers. Stop that and do your research and do your homework. I don't care if you have a chemistry to dumb it down, degree dumb it down. Like, I love you. The theory of relativity deals with gravitational pull. That does deal with the human being's existence. It is relative to the human being as well as the solar system. That's what makes it genius.
Y'all got to debate this on Patreon. I would love to see this. Best of both. He says, how can I get you as a life coach? Let's see what else we
You
got
don't want
here.
you don't want me to be your life coach.
So yeah, with all that being said, I just think that with everything that's going on with Atlanta right now, hip hop wise, and with the guys over at YSL, Young Thug, Gunna, I just think that it is kind of a slap in the face from a political standpoint for a politician to show up to an event called the Snowball. And I mean, I don't know on the surface what's being done as far as like people speaking out or trying
They're gonna be
to
snuff.
help out, this situation legally, but it's like, why are we that's the bottom line, man. Why are we glorifying illegal activity when these guys are going through it right now? That's my problem. Ultimately, at the end of the day, why are we still glorifying illegal activity when these guys are going through it for quote unquote keeping it real? The fuck are we doing?
I see people making like physics comments in the chat, Mike, and I'm gonna get to your comments too. First of all, what we're doing on this side is living under that veil and not being consistent. That's what I'm saying. Is like, well, we want to be immersed in politics and considered to be like pillars of our community, but we're really not being pillars of our community. We're pilfering through our community and looking for ways to get ourselves put on. And so she might see that she might be struggling with the black vote in certain parts of the community or demographic that she wasn't expecting to struggle in, which completely coincides with the communities that Jeezy does work in. So politically, it looks good if you're like a political analyst who's not in touch with the community working for Stacey Abrams. You get what I'm saying? Like if your job is as a political analyst to look, it's like, well, we have Jeezy right here with this community work. She's struggling in this community. Hey, let's take her ass to the snowball and, you know what I mean, let them get to know this side of Stacey Abrams. That's how a political analyst is looking at it, Mike, on some real shit. they all doing cocaine and shit. Like, so it's like I get what you're
I don't want
saying.
to know anything about
I
any
get
of
what you're
that.
saying about the glorifying of it because it's Jeezy. But if you think that these senators and if you think
No,
that
I
these ain't
feel
the
you.
biggest dope boys in the city,
But at
like
the
you know
end of
what I
the
mean, and
day,
in
at the
DC,
end,
these motherfuckers go skiing in
I hear
July when
you.
it's 103 degrees
I hear
outside.
you. I hear you. But who gets locked up for it? That's
No,
the thing.
no,
You know what
no.
I'm saying? And
This
so,
goes
and
back to
who's
the
hearing
veil.
this
It's like,
stuff?
well,
Yeah.
what is she supposed to do? You can't win for losing because I mean, Mike, I'm telling you, at that ball, there's gonna be a group of white girls in there, literal white girls. That's gonna have like about a half a key worth of coke on them between. That's gonna be in and out the bathroom and.
Again, it's not a good look on either end. It's like her as a candidate, she could be like, look, I can't attend anything called Snowball. Change the name. Bottom line, I mean, and why
That's
is
his
this?
whole moniker, Mike. He's made a whole brand and living off of it. Why should?
I,
And that's what I'm saying. Well, hold on. And this is what I mean.
is
Why
that
should?
what
Hold on.
he
Listen to what I'm
is?
about to say. No. Why should Jeezy have to change who he is, what he is, how he came up, and what he's built to make him famous to appease this politician who's out of touch?
No. That's never what I'm asking. I'm asking him to change it because the people he speaks to are being influenced by this shit, and niggas is locked up right now. I'm talking about promoting illegal activity. And when you get to a certain point in your career, you still got to do this? Is this
But why are we
everything that
talking about the
Jeezy is?
rapper and not the politician that's coming to endorse it so she can get some votes?
Well,
Isn't
she
she the
don't
real
care.
criminal here?
Huh?
Isn't she the real problem here, not Jeezy?
I think they're both the problem. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're both the problem.
I think you know what, Mike. They are both the problem. I think it's just how you prioritize it. She would be the bigger problem for me.
And somebody, I know, I agree with that because she's actually going to be in a position of power, and she's going to be somebody who attended a snowball. But if she see your ass with some snow, you locked up. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, okay, Mike. If we at the party and I'm like, hey, Stacy, grab your black AMX. Let's head to the bathroom right quick. Mike, I'm getting escorted out the party.
Of course. It's like I was talking about winter snow. Anyway, somebody said in the chat was like, Jeezy's move is bigger than hip hop. Explain to me how. See, that's that.
Explain that.
This is that Jay-Z does an NFL deal. Oh, you got to wait for the chess move talk. You know what I'm saying? Are y'all still waiting on the chess move? What actually came out of that actually benefited what was the cause? Because, I mean, Rihanna's out here doing the Super Bowl halftime when Big Boy did it from Outkast. She said that she turned it down because she thought that it would be selling out because Kaepernick's not in the league. Kaepernick's still not in the league, still hasn't gotten a contract from the NFL. What changed?
You're asking questions I don't have the answer to, Mike.
We know what the answers are. I'm just putting all the facts out there on the table.
No. I mean,
people
I have
are full of
opinions. I
shit.
just don't have solid answers, and that's part of the problem. There are no solid answers to the questions that you are asking. But we know how this country has run for the last 400 something. What year we on? 479, 482 of this bullshit. Whatever.
And Andre Shashir says, "What up, fellas? Off topic, but did y'all review Rome Street's Kiss the Ring?" No, we're gonna talk about it today though, because I love that album. We got another super chat, and I guess we can move on because I could be on this one forever. Jay Short says, "I think JID had to be out of the discussion for album of the year. To be the champ," he said, you got to beat the champ. In a close call, close tie has to go to Thought or Gibbs. JID didn't do enough for a knockout."
Agreed to a degree.
I agree with that. I think he tried, and he gave a great effort.
It's a wonderful project.
Yeah, he gave a great effort.
It's gonna be a stellar year if that album doesn't make our top 10. How about that?
I agree. I think it will make the top 10 though. It's a dope
I mean, we still got. I mean, Cole's verse on the YG made me think he might drop a project this year. Nas is dropping. JID's album might be like 6 or 7 right now, Mike. So don't say that so soon.
Mad Max says, not from ATL, but is Jeezy gonna help get votes? That's like getting Banks, Jules Santana, or Jim Jones up here to help get votes. Like, that's not gonna work up here.
Actually, see, when you're saying
it
that,
ain't 2005.
No, Mad Max, I think that you might be wrong about that because she's actually going for a demographic of people that, quite frankly, are older and have homes and taxes to pay, but still listen to those guys. So she's not necessarily looking for your 20-something crowd to vote in this. She is looking at 40-year-olds like me and Mike that, you know, listen to Trap or Die 1 and 2 in our post-formative years, you know?
Again, man, I think
Mike, you have to understand, when you're 35 to 44, you're the demographic that everybody is seeking out, like politically and economically. Like, you're the demographic. When you hit 35, it changes demographically and you become a target and a focal point that's different.
Maybe I can't speak for everybody in my demographic, but I would hope that people my age would be smart enough not to vote for somebody just because Jeezy stood next to him.
I'm not voting. Matter of fact, I mean, see, this is what I mean. Well, this is what I mean about, well, she's obviously looking for somebody that you know that she doesn't belong to, because just for me inherently, it's like when you stand next to Jeezy, it's like the black man in me like thinks it's like, oh, I hope you don't think that shit is enough to get my vote.
Well, I guess now we see who invited her to the Jeezy and Gucci Mane verses when she popped up.
Right.
What did you think about the BET Hip Hop Awards?
Same thing that I usually think, Mike. I didn't think much of it, but go ahead.
I think, I wanted to do a good, the bad, the ugly. I think it was good, if not to great, when Clips went out there and did Grinding. That was awesome. I loved the set when we saw DJ Paul, Juicy J, and Project Pat out there. And I loved Wu-Tang coming out there, man. When I hear Wu-Tang music, man, it reminds me.
It's different.
It reminds me of why I love this shit so much.
It's different.
You know what I'm saying? It's different, man.
You know what you said? Like, remember when you were always like, when Dre come through, it's different. It's different when Wu-Tang comes through, Mike.
It is, man. I love
It's different
those
when
guys.
Wu-Tang comes through. Like, when they come through and it's like their energy is there and it's like, you know, it's still most of the clan, you know, God rest, you know, dirty. But like, Mike, it's something else.
That music
It's something
lives
else.
on.
The same way, but Mike, it's something else because, well, here's the reality of the matter. It was always something else. Like, first of all, you named the only 3 great parts of the show, really. You just named them.
Well, somebody said Joey Badass did a good job. He did.
Okay, I said you named the 3 great parts of the show.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Jeezy is old news. She's $1 short and a day late. True.
True and disrespectful all at the same time.
I mean, you know, it's just real. It's not.
It just is what it is.
You know, I remember.
Who's better off getting chains to come down to the trap house or something?
So I got Russell Wilson on my fantasy team, right? And I'm
sorry to hear that.
Exactly. I made this post about him being washed. And, you know, and wifey comes to me like, man, why you always getting on Russell Wilson? Blah, blah, blah. He's a good dude. It's not personal. Anybody could get washed. It's not personal. He's probably a good guy. But you washed. Same thing with the Jeezy thing. Like, you know, he's right. Nobody's listening to Jeezy right now. Like, and it's not a bad thing. It's not disrespectful. It's just the truth. You talk about the Migos not having hits. Where his at? He done put out.
There.
He done put out like 5 projects, maybe 6.
There.
Nothing. After the biggest verses numerically that they had, he put an album out the next day. Nothing. Just is what it is. But his verse on the ESTG record, GST. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. His verse on the record yesterday.
ESTG.
Yeah, ESTG. That's it. I mean, that's the verse that everybody's talking about, and I think that was one of the. You think that was one of the better performances, possibly?
In relationship to what?
Well, not in relationship to Wu-Tang.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna be unpopular because I done went through the good. There's no nice way to say this. I just don't think that Trina getting a Lifetime Achievement Award is. I always thought Trina was whack, in my personal opinion, as a rapper.
Ooh.
I did. Am I wrong? Am I wrong for saying that? You thought? Oh. Let me flip it on you. You thought Trina was nice?
I didn't think that she was nice.
Because we went through a whole conversation about female MCs and we never mentioned Trina for a reason.
She's just. I mean, so let me be totally forthright, Mike.
Okay.
I literally got home last night as she was walking on the stage to accept her award. So that was the first part of the award show that I actually saw live. And so my first reaction is, what in the fuck is going on? And out of respect for her, because I do like Trina.
Yeah.
I don't love her, I like her, and I love her voice. She's always had like a cute little sexy voice to me. I love her voice. But
from a talent standpoint, though, it's
right,
like,
if we're being objective, Mike, and not just being like teenage nostalgic me, it's like I was like, what the fuck going on here? And I watched her speech, and Mike, and I literally, and I had it on record, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna need to pause before I go back and watch the rest of this before I go to bed tonight.
Without going to Google, how many Trina albums can you name?
The Baddest Bitch, Mike, and Diamond Princess.
Yep, that's where I'm at too. Andrew Green.
Those are the only ones that I needed to listen to. I mean, that's all I got.
Andrew Green with the super chat says, "I'm late, but dope battle, fellas. The best yet. I had Mike winning 11-10. Queens get the money. Coop came with some haymakers though. Shout out to you. Shout out.
Yeah, no, it was fun.
I mean, I'm just gonna be real. I just think that. I mean, I don't know who all has gotten a Lifetime Achievement Award from the BET Hip Hop Awards, but I remember Rakim got it a couple of years ago. And so it's like, that's a big jump from Rakim to Trina. I just feel like, do you think that, and this might be an unpopular opinion to some, but is the Brat not deserving of something like that before Trina?
Well, my thought process was, well, how did we get to Trina and who did we skip?
Exactly. That was my thought process too.
Because can I tell you something? Oh, I mean, we don't even have to go to the Brat. I mean, I immediately thought to myself, well, what about Foxy?
This is we've already covered the Foxy thing. They're trying to erase Foxy Brown out of the.
They're trying to erase Foxy. That's why I keep bringing it up. Yeah. They're trying to act like Foxy Brown didn't exist. Yes, she did.
This is what I will say.
Has MC Light received this award?
I don't know. Can y'all tell us in the chat
this award?
Who? I'm sure y'all got your Googles up in the chat.
Shantae?
I don't know. Tell us who has received the I Am Hip Hop Award last year, the year before, and the year before that. I want to know who received it over the past 4 or 5 years.
I mean, I want you to think about MC Light, Yo-Yo, and Queen Latifah's contributions as women who started in hip hop and what they have delved into, specifically if you want to go media with MC Light and Yo-Yo. Think about what they've done just media-wise to stay on the music side of things career-wise. Isn't that like more noteworthy than Trina? Because like these are women that not only were better than her as MCs and album makers and all-time hit makers, but also delved into more. And so I want to know how we got to, and this is not to slight Trina because I do like Trina. I just
for that, you didn't see the voting video. This is why I'm giving Trina that smoke. Sorry.
See the what?
The voting video that she did. Somebody actually just super chatted about it. Trina Mo says, "Did y'all see the new Trina video about voting?" Yes, we did.
Do I really need to watch it? Okay, I need to watch it.
You need to watch it. Jay Short says, "Trina was the male version of Jeezy. It was an attitude that she represented. She wasn't for the fellas." And I think that to piggyback on that, I will say this. If you look at City Girls, you look at Glorilla, all of that, you could tell that the current mainstream females in rap are very Trina inspired, or at least you could possibly trace them to the Trina lineage. So maybe that's why she's getting this. You listening to it now?
Yeah, go ahead. Do this.
Yeah. Coop's going to go listen to this voting video that Trina just did. But no, how many albums can y'all name? Somebody said Foxy was on some BS too. I know MC Light is covered. Yeah, she's hosted the awards. But who has actually gotten the I Am Hip Hop Award before Trina? Again, I know it's an unpopular opinion. Yeah, Latifah got it in 2021. I remember that. So when did Rakim get it? Was that 2020 or was that 2019? Diddy was the BET Awards. I know it gets confusing because they got so many award shows. Am I tripping though? I mean, do y'all have a favorite Trina song? I mean, is Trina on your playlist? You got a top three Trina joint? AK's the curtain says, Coop, don't watch it. No, he has to watch it to get the whole scope of this conversation. And again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying with the Jeezy thing. I just hate when rappers put or MCs, artists put themselves in the ring with politicians because now she got to stand on that. And whoever put them up to this is in the win. I think Trina's heard it. Has Salt and Pepper received that award yet? I don't know. Again, I think the Brat being the first female to go platinum, you saw it?
That's awful.
So yeah.
That's awful.
So yeah, I was gonna just leave that part out of the show and just not say anything about the fact that I'm just not a fan of, Trina like that. But after that, I was like, nah, let me just be honest out here.
I told you, Be Alright is dope. The Kanye joint with Luda.
Let's be real about Be Alright. That's about Luda. It is. I mean, what's your favorite Trina verse? Does anybody have a favorite Trina verse?
I don't want to disparage her because it's already bad enough that we have to address it because they're wrong for picking her.
Okay. I'll just leave it there.
Right.
But again,
Because how about this? What is she supposed to do? Say no?
No. You got to get it how you live. I feel that.
Right. And so she's the one that gets put in this unfortunate position of having to get critiqued and criticized by us because, she probably isn't deserving of it. And so that's why it's like, well, I want to just not really focus on her, but focus on the rationale of thought that led to the decision to choose her.
I liked her verse on Take It to the House.
Okay.
Let's be positive here. Since we've already given our opinion, I'll be positive. But yeah, I liked her verse on Take It to the House. And I think that Pull Over might have been my favorite Trina song. I thought it was her best song.
I can see how you feel that way.
Yeah. But yeah, The Baddest and Diamond's Princess is the ones I remembered.
That's all I really remember.
But I do think that one of the justifications for her getting the award is the fact that you really do see her image in the current female MCs out there. But the thing is, what kind of credit does Kim get now?
Right. I mean, not being funny. It's like, well, if you mean she's all over the game in terms of we got a lot of mid-level exception type chicks with not a bunch of talent, but a lot of great looks, then yeah. Because here was the thing, and I don't care what people say. It's like, I mean, Mike, you remember when Lil' Kim was naturally fine and was rhyming her ass off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauryn Hill, Yo-Yo, these are good looking women. You know what I'm saying? Like Yo-Yo was fine, Mike.
Yeah.
Still is fine. But I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Yo-Yo, man. Gave me an interview.
She did, Mike. I was so jealous. I was watching the interview live. I was like, that's Yo-Yo.
Yo-Yo was cool as hell. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Trina is a branch on Kim's tree. Just an opinion. That's not an opinion, bro. That's a fact. That's what we call a heavy, big fact.
That's... This is why I say Lil' Kim is the female icon because, she's the real blueprint, all that. It changed with her. The Brat is literally in baggy pants, dressed like Snoop on the cover of Funkdafied, a year before you start hearing Kim.
Well, all right. Somebody said something in the chat that I thought was interesting.
Remember MC Light with Roughneck? That's part of where I thought the Brat's image came more from MC Light and the Roughneck thing.
Somebody said something about Trina made it okay for strippers to be rappers. Was Trina a stripper? I thought she was a real estate agent.
I mean, and that's what I mean. And when you say stripper too, it's I don't know, Mike. It's just if I did a job for a year or two And then, you know what I'm saying? It's like, is that what I am, or is that how you labeling me? It's like, was her ass on the pole for a year or two, and then, like, you know what I mean, with the real estate school for 3 years, and then became a rapper? Because if so, she's really more of a real estate agent than a stripper. You feel what I'm saying?
We're getting some spam in the chat. We got some mods that can handle that real quick. I mean, we could say the same thing about people hustling too. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the same conversation for that. But yeah, I don't want to denigrate, and that's not where that's coming from. That's just us being critics of the culture and just talking about, what we saw in the show. Again, I think it's always very difficult to give these kind of awards because hip hop, as young as it is, has a very long history and a long line of people who haven't gotten a certain level of acknowledgement, and it's very difficult to actually pick rightfully. And I think when you try to go for relevance, which TV award shows do because they need ratings, you end up skipping a lot of people who've been skipped over for years. And I don't know, man. It just seems to me, because I think last year was Queen Latifah, which is well deserved. I think that Queen Latifah's legacy is still understated.
Yeah.
And spam is killing us. But I think that that's a big jump from Queen Latifah one year and Trina the next. Not saying that, she can't get it.
No, there's levels to this, and it's
might
not the same
have been
level.
the year for her. Does Salt and Pepper have this? I don't know.
I'm talking more about the level. There's supposed to be levels to this, and I just feel like it's like, well, there's so much ground to cover, Mike. I know it can be tough, but when you make a choice like this, and there are so many, in my opinion, blatant choices that probably should have been considered even before her name got thrown in the hat, is what seems like the problem is.
Yeah. Somebody
so the
made a
problem's
statement.
not her. But here's also what else I would tell you too, is that I was expecting the speech to be a little better. I was a little disappointed in the speech, just to be perfectly honest with you. She's been in this game for a long time. I was expecting her public speaking for an award so big to be better, just being totally frank about it.
Yeah.
She's got a wonderful voice still, Mike. I've always loved her. Her voice, like Armani has a very kind of, you know what I'm saying?
I love Armani's voice.
But Trina has a voice like that where it's like you hear the voice and you like the voice. You're like, oh, who that?
Okay, somebody said Nelly won the Icon Award last year. In my opinion, well deserved. I don't even think that Nelly and Trina are on the same level, in my opinion. What I was gonna say though, I saw something on Twitter where somebody said something along the lines that Pusha T was the only performer. I think it was Master Ace who said this. Was the only performer at the award show last night that didn't use the vocal track. Did you pick up on that?
No.
What did you think about the performances altogether?
The performances are never that good, Mike, but mostly because, like...
Is that a generational thing? Because it seems like the Wu-Tang performance and all that stuff was...
It was.
Is that a get off my lawn thing? I don't know.
It's not a get off my lawn thing. It's... You want to know what? I'm going to tell you, like my friend Andrew told me on the other podcast on Mirror Music. He was talking about the Gibbs album, and I really want to get into the Gibbs album because he said something that was very, very striking to me, and it made me appreciate the record more. He said, Freddie Gibbs is too much, the record too much. He said, that's the record. He said, that's the record that all these young rappers want to make, but don't know how to make or execute at his level. And when he said it, I was like, woo. I was like, he's right. They make stuff it's good for the mood if you want to turn up right quick, but it doesn't resonate.
It's interesting.
Because they're trying to kick like Mike, like when you go kick hood struggle music, it's like, well, it helps if you're from a hood and really come from a struggle. And we'll talk about this even with Yasin and Talib. Well, it's like, well, when you're on at like 15, 16, 17 years old, Mike.
Yeah, you're right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like when Gibbs is talking about, I used to sleep on an air mattress with my bitch with the pistol right here. You feel what I'm saying? Like it's different when that guy comes out and says, rocks on a nigga wrist too much. He's saying it because he's coming from a place of struggle of really having slept on the air mattress. You feel what I'm saying?
I believe in the 10,000 hours theory. I really do. And I think that a lot of, and I don't want to sound like the old guy here, I think a lot of the artists in this generation, hip hop specifically, because I think a lot of the singers are getting it. I feel like in R&B now we have more young musicians than we've had in a very long time. But when
I
it
agree.
comes to the rappers, I don't know if the 10,000 hours has been put in because you're able to blow up so fast and so quickly, and the turnaround that people want you to deliver on is just so rapid. Now, I think what's interesting to me is the fact that I feel like this generation of artists do live performances and tour and do festivals a lot more than the
Yes.
previous era. I just don't understand why they're not the best performers.
I'm going to tell you why.
Well, at least not the best television performers. They may be great live, you know what I'm saying, with their festivals and stuff, but when it comes to television performances, it doesn't translate.
They're not properly trained, Mike, because there's no A&Rs anymore to show people how to really get ready to record properly, to perform properly, how to audit music. Like all of these things, we're training and coaching and teaching things. And what you really find, I'm going to tell you what, like when I'll never forget when I was in the studio with the Yardies one day, and this was just like on some chill shit when they was just making some beats. You know what I'm saying? And I wrote a few bars and freestyled some bars, like just for fun. I do not do it anymore at all. Those are the homies. You know what I mean? That's damn near like my second family. You know, and Matt was like, yo, Coop, he was like, these niggas don't even like write anymore or even be ready when they come to the studio with anything. He's like, niggas really wait for the track that they want to hear, that they can vibe to. He's like, and they make up the bars and stuff like right on the spot, don't write it down. He's like, half the time they don't even remember what they said the first time that you said it. So you got to play it back, the tape back to them so they can get it and repeat it to stack it if they say some fly shit. So it's totally like, it's organic in a beautiful way, but it compromises a lot of the integrity and the quality of it because songs like that are blowing up. And so a guy thinks and sees a guy that's blowing up like that down here and is just like, oh, I need to do what my nigga doing. And nobody really puts the time or the effort in, and the craft and the essence of it gets lost. And that's where you lean on a Black Thought or a Yasin and a Talib, because they are taking the time to craft and they deserve respect for it. But what I'm trying to tell you is that there are people like Freddie Gibbs, Mike, who do both exceptionally well.
Mad Max at the super chat says, so I heard K-Dot swept all the awards. I didn't watch the awards, so I wouldn't know. But how he won every award, we'll go through that too. He won 6.
Hold on, stop. Kaya said, the Yardies, Coop, you be hanging out with the Jamaicans? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Mad Max to the super chat says,
and the Haitians.
It's not a get off my lawn thing, Mike. My generation complains all the time that these guys can't perform. Our best performers are Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and J. Cole. They have great shows, and they're older. They come from a different school of thought. I compare them to like Kobe in the NBA. When Kobe, around 2008, he was still a young man, quote unquote, but he was from a different era. Like,
so this is what I'm trying to say is that like y'all keep trying to say that Drake and Cole and Kendrick is from y'all era. It's like,
nah, that's another
era.
I
need y'all to back up. Like, I was outside when all them dudes was still like coming out and coming up. So like, no, like I was in my 20s still when those guys were coming up. I'm 41 now.
The best performer in the game, they done got it where he can't even perform no more. Travis Scott. He was the best performer of the generation. And they done tamed his shows.
I told you, Mike. I told you, just take a year off. Don't say nothing.
But the other thing, though, is like, yeah, it's interesting that, I mean, because Kodak had a huge set. But you could just tell that I think, you know what? I think great performances starts with great records. Michael Jackson wouldn't have been able to do Motown 25 without the greatness of a record like a Billie Jean. And I think that what you're talking about, just not having that process in the crafting part of it, is going to affect the stage show.
Right. And so you can get a hit record, but it's not going to stay because they're not building it out to stay. Let's go back to Illmatic again.
I want to go to this real quick because I'm glad you made that point. Who breaks records now? Let me ask you that. When you talk about hit records.
I mean, I still think it's the clubs and the strip clubs. I mean, we're in Atlanta, Mike, so it's like it's forever been the strip club and the clubs down here.
Okay, I
Like
guess
I
outside
can't
of that, I
lie.
guess
Like
from an online standpoint.
I was about to say, I don't know about online because anytime I want to hear something new, Mike, I really just go touch the streets of Atlanta, like
Well,
literally.
yeah, the
And I'll
strip
go and
club
I'll
gives you new
ask my
music.
homies. I'll be with the Yardies sometimes. I'll be like, "Who is that?"
Yeah.
They'd be like, "That's such and such from such and such." I'll be like, "Oh, okay. Who that?" Like when it's playing, Mike, like live in the speakers in the club or wherever we at. I'll be like, "What's that? Who is that?" I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" Like
Well,
that shit hard.
well, a
Oh,
lot
that's
of
such
the
and such. They're from the
viral,
East Side. They're from where you from, Coop. And it'd be a bunch of cats.
well, a lot of the viral hits actually come from somebody said playlists, Apple Music, and things like that. But a lot of the viral hits kind of come from TikTok, come from Instagram, and we're talking about songs that are being played in a 15 to 30-second increment. Like Erica Banks, her hit jumped off like that. That Bust
Mm,
It.
I didn't
And
know
so
that.
it's like it's one of those things where it's like you don't even hear the whole song. So you're used to hearing something like on TikTok or hearing it on Instagram, and when you hear the whole song, this song doesn't sound as good as it did in a 30-second increment. And so I think that's problematic too when it comes to the hit making process. People are out here they're trying to get people to use their records on TikTok and this and that. I mean, I don't know if you've heard this song. Dude, he's like, "You a black girl, you a black girl, you a black girl." And he's just saying that over and over. And people, use it on their TikToks and Instagrams or whatever, but it's not a song. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know how you get back to
We're in a
DJ.
weird place.
We are in a weird place when you talk about hit records. And I think that DJs aren't the people breaking records anymore. They got whole platforms designed to put you in the algorithm so people can actually choose your records for TikTok challenges.
No, this is what I mean about how, like, Mike, I literally just hit Atlanta now. This is what I mean. So you remember how when you and I were on the scene, way back in our day, like, and we would go to the live events and the open mics, and it would be like the crews would already kind of be like, quote unquote, booed up with the judges and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's different than that now, Mike. Like the crews, depending on what zone you in and what side you from, they got their local clubs and sets on lock with their whole clique.
Yeah.
And so you'll pull up to a chit chat in Decatur, like I did one night, where literally my dudes know everybody in there, and somehow I'm in the VIP, and there's a whole rap crew that I've never heard of, Mike, and they snapping, and the music is hard, and they got the whole club bouncing, and Mike, there are people that have it like that on every side of Atlanta. Now, they used to just be like Jeezy, and then T.I., and then Chains. You know what I'm saying? They would have it like that. It's like, no, they got it sectioned off and sectioned out now. And so I kind of just go looking for it that way. But that's because, according to hip hop, is based in Atlanta. And I know that the streets work like that with the music now. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how the other major stuff goes viral. I just know how the A works, because it's like, well, you need to know how your city works.
Well, at least online, when you talk about like the different challenges, like even Beyonce has a challenge out there now. And look, I'm gonna say this, and I know that y'all laughed at me when I said this and said I was gonna look like Max Kellerman on his Tom Brady prediction. But are y'all ready to apologize to me yet? That Beyonce record ain't connected. It's not. It's not.
I didn't even know where you were going, Mike.
It's not. I mean,
I'm not
when,
even
when
joking. I
Beyonce
forgot she even
knows,
released.
when Beyonce has to rely on viral challenges or have celebrities dancing to her song to try to get a challenge started, we're in a different place. That's all I'm gonna say.
I forgot the album drop, Mike. I
A
still
lot of
haven't
people
listened
did.
to it.
Look, man, wifey's a big Beyonce fan. She still ain't heard it.
Really?
Yeah,
She is the Beyonce demographic, Mike.
exactly. Mad Max with the super chat says Drake, Cole, and Dot came out when I was in middle school, through high school. I'm outside by then, just had curfew. Yeah, I feel you. Mad Max also said,
No, I feel that.
Twitter breaks records now, Mike, or the internet. That's why a hit is hard to come by in today's. Yeah, because it doesn't last. Because it's hard to. It's hard for something to last when you haven't even heard the whole song.
Mike, hits don't come out because the songs aren't that good. At
36
the end of the
Chambers.
day, it goes to the quality not being there because people aren't working on their craft, and where it really affects the quality of the music is the most is the timelessness of the song. Like what hit records are now are timely,
Yeah.
not timeless.
But they're designed to be that. 36 Chambers said what I said. He said TikTok is where hits happen. 15 seconds gets you on. But see, that's the thing, man. Like after the 15, 30 seconds, and people actually hear the whole 3 minutes, you're tuned out because you only know this 15 seconds. And like you said, it affects the creative process when you in the studio with somebody and they're there to basically create 15 seconds.
Right. Like their whole point. Like
Yeah.
I'll never forget when Matt was like, "No, Coop." He's like, "They stand there the way that you just did, except for they mumble the whole way through it." Because like remember when Jay-Z's like, is he insane? No, he's like Rain Man twitching, where it's like you just mumble to yourself. He's like, no, they all do that now until they just come up with something that sounds dope enough to put on record. It don't even gotta. He literally told me, he said, "Coop, it don't even have to make sense anymore. It just needs to sound dope to fit the mood." He's like, and you 20 deep niggas in the room, and they smoking, they talking shit, them boys is hyping them up, and before you know it, you got yourself an anthem.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Mike, I hate to tell you, when you're 40 and up, you're out of the loop. Just ask the kids, because that TikTok stuff ain't real. It's real to them.
Our platform really has been growing as we head into our 40s, Mike. I just don't know if that's true. I'm as in tune with what's going on in my city musically as I have been since I was active, which is literally skipping my entire 30s. So,
well, you know what? Listen, as a part of the music industry, I feel like I'm really in tune with the process, and and I'm in tune with the technology side of things, or the technological side of things, and how things get placed. I mean, without saying too much, I talk to these record labels and all of that, and part of the initiatives are to go to these social media platforms. They have middleman platforms that get you into the algorithms. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of a marketing strategy now, because that's where their demographic is.
Right. And all jokes aside, Mike, I think this is why we work. It's like, well, that analytical and data side that exists now with all these algorithms. I mean, Mike, but here's what I know. Like,
hip hop's in the streets, and you're in the right place.
Right. But do you remember when Love dropped her album and that Tunchi record with Armani Caesar came out? And I was like, Mike, I'm like, this shit fire. Like, here's what I mean about being in Atlanta. It's like, no, I put that shit to the test, Mike. It was Friday. It was nice outside. I let the windows all the way down on the whip. I let the sunroof back, Mike. I went all the way to the east side. And I back roaded from Candler Road to Gresham Road to Boulder Crest, and took back roads all the way through the city, and jumped on my side and hopped in the freeway in traffic and headed towards my side, Mike. And I played that record nonstop the whole time. And every part of town that I was on, Mike, when that shit was blasted, people looked at me and was like,
yeah,
what the fuck is that? Like, and that's when I knew the shit was hard. The streets told me so, because when I was on Candler Road, niggas was looking at me like, what's that? When I was on boom. When I was in the city sitting up on Lowry, niggas was walking by like, what the fuck is that Coop playing? That's how I know. The streets ain't gonna lie to you when a record is fire.
No, you're right. And I think great music can't be denied. Like, no matter when it came out, you know what I'm saying? And no matter where it's being played. AK's The Curtain said that the music industry is oversaturated. And it is. I think it's a dichotomy where it's like, do you want it where there are gatekeepers out there that only allow a certain amount of people in? Or do you want it where it is oversaturated and everybody has a chance to connect with whatever they like? I don't mind it being oversaturated. I remember when the game was at a place where there were gatekeepers. And when there were gatekeepers, if you didn't make a record like this record over here, you weren't getting on. And at least people have the opportunity to be themselves. I think if things weren't so free-flowing, we wouldn't have a show to be able to talk to you guys in the way that we're talking right now. Mm-hmm. And, Inspector Deck wouldn't have what he has going on with Czarface and things like that. So I guess you got to take the good with the bad. I like where music is right now. You know what I'm saying? But you got options, but you can't you can't expect to see the real shit on TV though.
No, okay, so also too, and this is what I mean. I'm an in the streets guy. Like even with my musical aesthetic, it's like, well, I don't hear Griselda on the radio. That's part of why we give them so much props.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, they haven't fit like that part of the format that you're talking about, Mike. Well, they don't fit into any of that at all. That's why I've championed them so much, because it's hard to exist in today's times and not exist in that format and get to the money and get to the notoriety and make the quality of music they've been making. But Mike, they're there because they've made the quality of music. And I kind of want to transition into the Yasin and the Talib thing.
I was thinking that way too, because
Right.
yeah, I think it's a good transition because it's about it. Because for me, the transition goes in a sense where, what are you doing this for? Are you doing this for the art? Or are you doing this for the notoriety? And I think when I get Griselda and when we got into Griselda, this wasn't about the notoriety for them. This was about them making the music they wanted to make. And you know what I'm saying? And to get to this Yasin Bey and Talib Black Star interview, I was hearing all kind of stuff where it was like they were praising the adulation and awards and things like that, and talking about the fact that, you know, you want to be accepted and you want to be congratulated, and then they were acting like that wasn't a thing. It was all over the place, man. And I think I texted you when I was watching it. I was like, these guys are all over the place.
All over the place.
I don't really know where to even start when it comes to this interview.
Well, here's how I kind of want to start it to finish the transition.
Okay.
You know, Griselda does a lot of the things that we love to do, Mike, but they still struggle with some of the same things that we're about to talk about with Yasin and with Talib. It's like they really sometimes miss who really loves them most. Like, I thought about something.
You're right.
I really thought about this when we got the Liz 2 date. You know, one of my proudest moments being a part of Recording in Hip Hop, Mike, was when Armani Caesar actually was one of the people that tagged us for promoting the Liz. Like, remember when she tagged us? She tagged all the publications that had been helping promote the Liz. And we were one of them.
And we're going to promote this one too.
Yeah, because she deserves to be promoted. And, Jay Skis took a clip from our show where I was speaking about a back and forth that him and Conway had and how impressed that I was with not only with his skill level, but obviously where the work ethic and working on your craft was reflecting the skill level.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they obviously know who we are and what we were doing. Mike, I've never heard any other.
Don't skip the big one. Don't skip the big one. Love the Genius actually did an interview with us. We reached out to her, and she reached back, and she sat down with Coop and I early in the show.
Right. And you want to know what, Mike? And I mean this very, very sincerely. Like, Bailey Ave was my favorite song. And when she told me it was her favorite record, too, I feel like I connected with her.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, she's on some of the shit that I'm on. Like, I love this chick. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the right way.
Yeah.
And I say this respectfully when I say, Mike, nobody has talked glowingly about Pray for Paris the way you and I have, Mike. Nobody. We've called it arguably the best rap album of this current generation, of this decade.
Yeah.
We have glowingly raved about that album
even when people have gone against us about it.
Even when people have gone against us about it.
Yeah.
And all I have to say is that when I hear guys like that step out and talk about the love that they don't get, and they can't even take the time to tag us and show us love one time for praising this apparently classic album to us, when obviously they know who we are because people from their camp have tagged us, reposted our videos, and interviewed with us.
Yeah.
So you know who we are. And so so I don't want this to be a conscious rapper thing. I'm taking issue with the Griselda side of it too, before we get over the Yasin thing, in the argument of fairness. Now let's go.
Yeah, and I do think that, that's a hard transition that you came with, but I feel what you're saying. It's like...
No, because we got to provide balance to it. It's like, the gangster rappers who we love ain't showing us the proper love, even though we love them and rate Pray for Paris higher than anybody else in the media is rated, including the people that they have personal affiliations with. People who they have personal affiliations with in the media don't talk about Pray for Paris the way we do.
Now that's true, and I
That's
will
a
say
fact.
this: nothing we ever say, obviously, is to. I think I told you this offline. Not here to piss artists off, but we're also not here to kiss ass either. It's about the music, and we're talking about the music and giving our opinions on it. Are we right? There is no right or wrong to this. Everything is objective. We put the conversations out there to be had so we can have it with you guys. But when we praise something like a Pray for Paris, it's because the music's really great. Now, it's not because we're trying to get an interview with Westside or anything like that, but I think what happens is when these same artists that we continuously speak glowing of, because they earned it in the music, go out there and talk about the love they're not getting, it's like, well, y'all are getting love out here. Y'all just not really, acknowledging the people that are showing y'all the love. I mean, that's fine, but don't be like you ain't getting love. You know what I'm
Thank you.
saying?
I mean, because then that's insulting to the time that we spent literally going through your entire catalog and giving you the love that you deserve for it.
Yeah, because you put in the work. You know what I'm saying? They put in the work. They put out great work. And just because certain people that are on a certain level aren't saying the same things that we're saying, it's not. That doesn't mean it's not happening.
And I'm bringing up Griselda in this regard so we can fully juxtapose and transition.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how much work they've done. Like, they deserve to be talked about. I'm not sure how much Yasin and Talib deserve to be talked about as a group based on the work.
Smiles and Waves with the super chat says, I wanted to say thank you. Found you guys when Magic dropped, and I thought I was going crazy that nobody was talking about it. Keep going. You know what? Much love to you.
Crazy.
And
Once again. But hold on. But see, here's the difference.
But we only say these things because, we believe them to be true. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's what it is. Like, we didn't go out there with an ulterior motive to gas up Magic and say that it's this and that. And I want to say on the flip side, we're not being agitators or just, not agitator, that's not the word I'm looking for. We're not just trying to go on the opposite end of things and say that God did verse that Jay did is not that good. It's just an average verse. We're not jumping out the window like the rest of the media talking about the best things in sliced bread, because it's not. And I think in Jay-Z's heart of hearts, is the lyricist that he is and the work that he's put in this game, he knows that as well. So it's no diss, it's no slight. We're just giving our educated hip-hop opinions, right? And Magic, when I heard Magic, I was taken aback, and and you know what? That was during the time when, we tested negative for COVID, but we had something. So I was sick at the time, and people kept hitting us like, yo, when are y'all doing the show? When are y'all doing the show?
I was out of town.
Yeah. And so people were hitting us like, yo, when is the next show? Y'all got to talk about this Magic. Got to talk about this Magic. It was like Christmas Eve. You know what I'm saying?
People steamroll us into talking about it a little bit earlier than we were ready to due to my time constraints from being at work and out of town and your physical health. And we were like, we just can't wait no more to do the review. People not going to let us wait anymore. And so I did it from a hotel room in Columbia, South Carolina at like 11 o'clock at night one night.
Man. And I'm sitting here coughing and shit.
From whatever the hell you were recovering from. But it was that serious to the people. And we were like, okay, no more stalling the people.
And we knew Magic was special. Even when we heard it, I hit you, you hit me. These are organic things. And these conversations are organic. And listen, man, like I said,
it's one of those if you know type of things. Mike, remember when I told you about the Pray for Paris cover? Remember when you sent me the cover? I said, that looks like the cover to a classic rap album. You had never even heard me talk about Westside on that level before that night, Mike.
No, real. And the thing is, man, we love this shit. And when I pointed to the Wu-Tang performances last night, every time I hear Wu-Tang stuff or hear How High with Redman and Method Man, it reminds me of why I do what I do. We really love this shit. And I hate it for the people who are in our sphere or in our industry that have to BS and gas up shit that they really don't like just because it's their job. We're not going to do that. If the shit's great, we're going to talk about it like it's great. If it's not great, we're going to be honest about that too, and that's cool. But it's like...
And if you don't like it, we weren't out to be your friend to begin with.
And
We
with
have
that
to give
being
you the
said,
coverage that you deserve.
all of those reactions that we had to Magic and this and that, same thing we had for No Fear of Time when we heard it. And
Correct. Actually gave it the same rating initially as we gave Magic.
yes, and I've been very vocal about the same thing on this show, saying that I think it's the best hip hop album that I've heard all year until Freddie Gibbs. And again, we're gonna have to play those back to back. But I just find it so odd that if it's about the art, and they did a really good job with the art, why are they constantly harping on this notion about their stuff being on Luminary? And
So
if
let's
it's
pause right
about
there.
them, and it's about if that was what's best for them, and y'all cool with that, and y'all say fuck what the fans want, y'all accomplished the mission. You made a great album. You put it on the platform you wanted it to be on. What's the problem? And if it's not about what we want as fans, why should you even care?
First of all, let's unpack the first part of it about the explanation and the Luminary rationale, which I'm going to actually piggyback off of your behind the scenes comments. Well, Black Star does not own Luminary. Do they?
No,
do they
do
have a
not.
stake in Luminary?
No, they do not. They said that. Well, I know Yassine said that Dave Chappelle is a partner in it in some sort of way. So that's
okay.
what he
Dave
said.
Chappelle's not part of Black Star, so like that's what I'm saying. That's like, I mean, that's like my homie owning a business, and I frequent the business. That don't make it my business because my homie owned the business. I'm kind of there because my homie like to support my homie's business. So it's like if you're there to support your homie's business, like say that, but it's not your business. That's the first thing. So you still belong to another entity of sorts that is responsible platform-wise for people hearing your music. So you're not in this ownership and autonomy state that you claim to be in. That's the first kind of misgiving that we need to kind of clear, I feel like.
Well,
you're not in full autonomy of anything.
To piggyback on that, Talib's co-host, I forget her name off top. Excuse me. She said that she put the notion out there that everybody talks about, supporting black business and this and that. Well, this is what's best for y'all, yada yada. It's like, okay, well, don't put out there that this is a black-owned business, Luminary, because it's not. And I think that was she didn't go out there and say that it was per se, but to put statements out there without clarifying kind of muddies that notion where someone could walk away from that saying that, yeah, they do own Luminary, or Luminary is a black-owned business, when it's not.
Well, no, this is what I mean. No, I want to unpack it from a level of how, you see, we have these rappers that they come from a lifestyle of hustling and dealing, and we take issue with the rhetoric of their former lifestyle of hustling and dealing. And I just want people to see clearly what it looks like when you're being hustled and dealt with live by somebody who was never a hustler or dealer. Like, it don't got to be the hustler or the dealer who hustles you and tries to make you capitulate to something that's not necessarily true. So the first thing that I want to unpack is that there's no big difference in the autonomy from the first album to this album. The first album was on a small startup record label. This is on a small startup streaming platform. Explain to me the differences other than the digital age, because you don't own it, and your homie owning it isn't enough, or having a piece of it.
He doesn't own it. we're unclear of the stake that Dave Chappelle has in Luminary. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, Black Star said that we as fans don't get to decide how an artist disseminates their art. If people rock with you, it's cool. If not, they aren't upset. Can we judge No Fear of Time on the music alone? Okay, this is the thing. And this is why I was saying they were all over the place. If you want to be an artist, and 50 Cent famously said this, I think you and I were talking about this, and maybe me and another friend.
No, it was you and me.
If you want to make music, 50 Cent said this. If you want to make music for yourself, go in your basement and put on your headphones. But you jumping in this ring, you're in an industry now. And when you're in an industry, no matter if you're selling bread, cookies, music, whatever, you have to think about your consumer. If somebody has a bottle of Coke that they're selling, but they make it so difficult for you to buy it, and somebody else has product placement ahead of your shit, then don't get mad at the people for not supporting your beverage when they couldn't get to it. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to be a piece of art, like you said with the Wu Tang album, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, fine. But don't complain about people not accessing it. Why do you even care about that if it's about art?
So I want to unpack like the second part of it, which is okay. So they're trying to make it seem like this album is something that is breaking the mold. Well, what mold is it breaking exactly? Like they haven't clarified exactly what makes this album so special in relationship to other hip hop albums that get created. And here's what I mean about the hustle. Well, Yasin sets you up for this album not to do well with lines like, well, I'm not the best person to market and promote in these times. It's like, well, you wasn't the best person to promote in 1997 either, but that seemed to work for your legacy just fine. Like, when were you ever that person? Why do you have to have that caveat now with this album, with your place in hip hop? You get what I'm saying about the hustle? It comes off like, Mike, I know the con. It comes off like a con man setting you up so that he doesn't have to take the blame for anything. It's like, well, you know, I'm not really the type of personality or type of person that even fits into this metric. And so that's why we're moving upside the metric. Yada, yada, yada. Hustle, 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 Mike.
I didn't like
come from Ohio players. That is some straight hustler talk.
I didn't like the distinction between entertainers and artists either. You're all entertainers. Let's not get it fucked up. Let's not get it fucked up. If you're on stage performing, you're entertainers. The music has to be entertaining. How are you not an entertainer? You're an entertainer whether you like it or not. You know what I'm saying? Like what we're doing right now, we might not want to call it journalism, but this is journalism whether we like it or not. It is what it is. It's media whether we like it or not.
I'm about to say, because we're old school, we probably look at it less like journalism than people who follow us. Because for you and me, journalism, it would involve us doing more investigative reporting and writing that we have actual time to do.
Right.
Right.
Jay Short with the super chat says, Luminary gave a bag. Only thing that makes sense. And you know what? To piggyback off of that, I keep going. I keep going to this.
See how the problems start compounding and unpacking and steamrolling when you address it like articulately and intelligently, like with intelligent people having the discourse and response about it. It's like no, and then it steamrolls into the next piece of bullshit, and then the next piece of bullshit, and then the next piece of bullshit, because you're being conned. It's a hustle move.
One of the things, and I think I told you this offline, I don't like that they keep saying that people come up to them saying they bought the Black Star album, the first one, they're like, you didn't support us. Universal got that money. I think for me, that's very disrespectful to the people who paid tickets to see you guys perform, whether together or individually. You know what I'm saying? So let's not sit here and act like promoters don't pay you to perform. Promoters don't pay you to DJ, because Talib DJs as well. The fans' support is what drives that. People not giving you a bag because you don't have fans. Any of that fan support that came from that Black Star album, you should thank the fans for that support. You shouldn't denigrate the fans that bought the album and want to hear it live to say that they didn't get the money from the actual disc. That's wild to me, man. That's really disrespectful to the fans that have supported this collective over 20 years. I found an old post that I did on Facebook. You know how your anniversaries or whatever come up? Or they show posts from years ago? I want to say this might have been a post from me 7-8 years ago. It was a question out there online like, what group would you like to see put together an album? And I said, as big of an Outkast, Wu-Tang, and some other group fan I am, I want to see Black Star.
You said it probably was Tribe or 3 6.
It probably was Tribe or something. I think it might have been Tribe because it was before Tribe put together that album. I said I want to see Black Star put together the album they've been talking about they're gonna put out with Madlib. I said this. So even with the hiatus like this, fans have been supporting this group, and for you to sit there and throw it in people's faces like you didn't support me, I'll support. You know what I'm saying? Like you support me whenever I said you support
You're,
me. What?
so I want people to stop for a second. Like, because here's probably my biggest problem with it all. These guys get labeled as people that are conscious and in touch with our community. And because of our deification of them at a very young age, and us financially backing them show money wise early on, they have lived a life of affluence since pretty much their post-formative years. I wouldn't even call them full-grown men yet. As in post-formative, as in you're not a teenager, but you're not a full-grown ass adult yet either.
Yeah.
In their post-formative years, they ascended out of this 99% into the 1%.
And never had to go get a job.
They know nothing about half the stuff that they speak, and none of what you have to do of you who helped put them there. And that includes me, who has supported them and paid money to see a show of them live before.
Yeah.
Because they've been living a life of affluence based off of their talent from a very, very early age. So all these things that they talk about being able to relate to, it's like, oh, they stopped being able to relate a long time ago, fam. The last time most was relatable was on What's Beef on the Dave Chappelle show.
And they're making that correlation about people in their jobs if they didn't get paid right.
Was insulted.
It's like you guys have never worked a job. How are you even?
You have not had a regular job probably since you were like 14 or 15 or 16 years old. Like, stop lying to the people and make it seem like you got some sort of get up and go to work mentality. If anything, Yassine next to Andre is the poster child of somebody having all-time great talent and not working hard enough.
And you know, and on the flip side,
what does he really represent as a black man? Because people always talk about how intelligent he is. People always talk about how gifted he is. Mike, what has he really done with it?
I want to say this too before I lose this train of thought, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think we all know that the answer to that. And on the flip side, they went in on that music critic and talked about he doesn't know what it takes to make music. But you guys just sat here and talked about, you know, correlating what you're going through to working a regular job. You've never done that.
Exactly. What do you know about getting up?
Exactly.
What do they know about waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning and having to get ready for work? Let's keep it real. What do they know about it? Because I'm gonna tell you what, the people who supported you and supported songs like Get By and Definition, like those are the people getting up at 5, 6, 7 in the morning. Not you, but they've been deified for so long and their logic is so flawed from their perspective and they are so out of touch that they actually have the audacity to say this with clarity, like there are not other intelligent people within this discourse of hip hop that are going to rebuttal it intelligently and being like, are you even in touch with your community to be speaking this way? Because how can you be when you also speak to being aloof to market the product in today's times? So you're too aloof to market the product, but you're in touch with what's going on day to day in my community. Con man.
36
con
Chambers
artist.
says,
That's con talk. Well, I'm going to be this over here, but this over here. You can't serve two masters.
36 Chambers with a super chat says, the Black Star interview seemed pretty straightforward to me and not all over. They're about getting paid. Made a deal with Luminary. Yassine says that they aren't asking people to move mountains to listen. When I say all over the place, when you talk about wanting to get paid properly for your art, that's fine. I'm all with that. But you're also talking about the fact that, okay, well, this is art. They didn't want it to be judged. They didn't want to meet. Everything is so one-sided. It's all about artists. And what they have to understand is when you jump out of this system that they're talking about, because everything has been handled for them, right? The selling part of it's obviously been handled for them when they've been dealing with other labels or whatever. Now you're on Luminary and you got to do all this stuff on your own. But see, you're just thinking about the art. You're not thinking about how to get it to the people. You're not even putting out an individual single to lead people to Luminary. You know what I'm saying? And so
That's
it's
what I.
like you're missing the sales part. You still got to do promoting part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to do that part of it. And so they're
No,
so
Mike.
used
This
to
is
that
what I.
part of it being done for them.
I want people to understand how deep the con. I want people to understand how deep this con is running. How many interviews have they done where the same time and money allotment could have been made towards a video? They're not even really working on the music. They're spending more time talking about the music, Mike, than even creating a visual aid for the music. This is absurd.
Even
and it's
if
absurd that nobody is really approaching them. Like, and I saw somebody saying in the chat, and I want to do this, and this is also why I brought up Griselda too. Well, Griselda goes and talks to who they're comfortable with, and Yassine and Talib go talk to who they're comfortable with, and all these guys are just way too comfortable because they don't want to answer difficult questions about any of their bullshit with whatever it may be. Because I'm gonna tell you what I saw, and let me just speak right quick, Mike, because I can see you have something you want to say, and I'm gonna let you jump in. Right when the Black Star interview went off, it immediately went to this Benny interview, and I've never actually watched the Benny interview. But the people that were interviewing him, like the questions that they were asking, I was just like, oh nigga, no, you would never pull up in According to Hip Hop and get those type of softballs. Because I'd be straight at you. First question be like, so you jumped this nigga, but you didn't make a rap song? Like, please explain to me like how that works in the streets, because where I come from in the streets, it doesn't work that way.
Well, that's not a question to ask in the interview.
You feel what I'm saying? No, I wouldn't have asked it like that, but it's like it was so soft how they was approaching him. I was just like, oh, well, he's so comfortable right here. The same way y'all seen is so comfortable. No, step up somewhere and ask and answer some difficult questions. And I've said it before. It doesn't have to be here, but step outside of your box and start being so comfortable and really show me that you really care and that you're about what you're talking about and that you can back this up with something. Because you can't back it up with a video. You can't back it up with access. You can't back it up with the I'm not a promoter, but I'm connected to my everyday working man. Hold on. So you're not in touch enough to sell your product every day, but you're in touch with what's going on in your community every day. No, you're lying to us.
Well, see, this is what I was going to say. When he was on, Talib's podcast and Talib's asking the question.
Whose podcast was he on?
Exactly. I felt like Talib wasn't even in Black Star. He was talking to Yassine like he wasn't even in the group.
He often does that because it often feels like now
whatever he wants to do is gonna happen.
Talib's frame of mind is just like, well, let's just get it done. So whatever he wants to do, and it's like that's not how friendship.
That's not a partnership.
That's not fair. And so this is what I mean. Yassine's a little bit more of a diva than y'all were realizing.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously, and I'm not trying to cause any riff or anything. I mean, it is what it is. It seems like whatever Yassine wants to do is what it is when it comes to Black Star. Because obviously, Talib puts in the work. He puts out music. He puts out music that's on the other streaming platforms. And when he was talking to Yassine about this, it didn't seem like we wanted to do this. It was like, you wanted to do this. And I get it. Being in a partnership and being in a group is compromising. But at what level is Yassine compromising to Talib? Are they putting out any individual song? I don't think that there's any compromise with the fans or even with Talib, in my personal opinion. 007 says, who's Rap's 2022 underappreciated star this far? Huh.
So listen, Leroy brings up something. No, Leroy Green said something I think is very potent. He said, I think if a bunch of people complained about A2H going on Patreon, then you guys would feel where most is coming from. Well, here's the thing about it, Leroy, and listen to exactly what I'm about to say. Well, we decided that it would be unfair to the fan base. Okay, so when we moved from doing Facebook and Instagram Live to YouTube, Mike, we didn't stop posting on Instagram Live or Facebook Live. I just told you I ran into somebody that I hadn't seen in 6 years, Mike, and I was telling him how the podcast was doing well. He was like, I know, I still watch you on Facebook Live. And I was like, damn, I gave this kid, well, he was a kid. He was 19. He's 25 now. He's been following According to Hip Hop on Facebook this whole time because we still give full access for what we do on YouTube, Mike, to Facebook, don't we? What we do on YouTube goes to Instagram. We have a Patreon show now. We did not stop doing our YouTube shows though.
Right. Yeah, right. We could have
They've
just
cut
said, you
off
know what, we
all
out.
their other streams and said pretty much take this singular platform that we don't have any ownership in. They don't even have the golf. And this is what I mean. You have to understand the level that they're operating on and why it's a con. Well, if you were really big, you would do what Prince did and just sell your shit online and still make your money. Because here's the reality of the matter. Prince still went online and sold a couple 100,000 copies on his own MPG or NPR, I think it was, website with Crystal Ball, the 3-disc set and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that himself, but he's Prince.
But cool. How about this? You and
he's
I,
Prince.
you and
See,
I
you're
are
not big
good
enough to really do that and pull that move, and you don't really have the balls to pull that move. And so it comes
I don't
like
even think it's that. I mean, you don't even have to be Prince level to go out there and have some hustle about yourself.
No, I'm talking about, but they're talking about it on that level, so that's why I'm giving it back like that. It's like, no, if you was on that level, you just do what Prince did.
Well, this is what I'm gonna say. It ain't even about that level because I think a lot of people independently put out work that have a base. Now they got an audience and they got people who
did you hear how he was talking about space and how important it was on the record? Oh no, he talking like he on Prince level. Yes, he is.
Well,
that's
what
I mean
about
the
that.
arrogance and the deification of it. Because you would think that this guy helped make Purple Rain and Thriller the way he was talking.
I see what you're talking about.
Like, yeah, Mike,
I want to strip it away from all of that arrogance and all that.
Mike, can I just say this? I was listening to the interview and I was like, I really need to hear No Fear of Time again because this guy thinks he just made the best rap album of all time, apparently.
Well, what I was going to say, though, I think that let's just say you and I, we're a duo. We put out a classic album back in 1998, and we've done our solo stuff. People still rock with us. They've been waiting for the album for 10 years, then 20 years. And then we link back up, have a podcast with Dave Chappelle, this, that, and the third. What's stopping us from just saying, you know what, Coop? We got so many people waiting for this album. It's dope. It's right here. Why don't we just press up some vinyl, have people go to our website, and they buy it, we deliver it, or do a pop-up shop, and you know what I'm saying, and make it where the people can actually tangibly have this in their hand, and they got it. And then here's the kicker, guys. When we get that 40, 30, whatever dollars, we literally just split it between you and I. Ain't no luminary. It's no other thing. Why can't we just do that? The fans are cool.
Stop, Mike.
And hold on. What's the problem?
No, let's put some proof to life to that, Mike. We have created a hip hop yearbook for 2 years straight now, and you and I have had viable conversations the entirety of the past year about finding an actual publisher and skipping over these digital and all these distributors so that we can press it up ourselves and go sell it locally ourselves and bust the money down 50-50. Have we not had that discussion?
Yeah.
And that doesn't change anything about our YouTube channel, does it?
No.
Or our Patreon channel?
No.
Or any of the other new shows that we have going on?
No.
I'd like to welcome the people to why you're getting conned.
36 Shaver says, they're harping since fans won't leave them be on the topic. They wouldn't be talking about it if they weren't getting hit up so much, it seems. What? I mean, who's hitting them up on this? I mean, we've talked about it because it's a topic, but most people have just said, you know what, I'm good, or I haven't heard the album, or if you really want to hear the album, then, you get that subscription. They need to be specific, man. Who are they talking about? What are they talking about? What kind of things are they hearing? Because I heard Talib say something along the lines of, people say, okay, I'll just bootleg it. In 2022, what does bootlegging look like? We're not walking around with compact discs and CD players in the whip and shit. Like, I don't know.
Sometimes, Mike, it's just easier as a man to admit that you made a mistake is what I'm trying to really say. At the end of the day, just say that you all made a mistake in putting it out on Luminary. It was a misstep. You're correcting the misstep by releasing a full vinyl and a full release edition on something like, Tidal, seeing how you probably still have some sort of J affiliate. Like, there's so many ways to go about it. But
well, if this is about the art, that shouldn't even matter. That's why I was saying they were all over the place.
Don't turn around and blame the people who have supported you and put you in the 1% either.
Exactly.
And then talk about how you can relate to them. It's like, no, you can't.
I mean, it comes across as kind of like that statement from TDE a couple years back, and they were saying that we don't deserve Kendrick Lamar music. It sounds along those lines where it's like, we don't appreciate you enough.
And it turns out we didn't deserve it because we could have kept it and we would have been just fine.
Man, that
Because
joint got
because
BET
that's
Hip
one
Hop
album
Awards.
that won't be making a top 10 list.
It got 6 BET Hip Hop Awards.
I don't care.
Well, at least Jack Harlow didn't win Lyricist of the Year. Let me quit. 36 Chambers says,
A win is a win.
36 Chambers says, the thing is, Black Star also said that they know that their fans are on Luminary, listening anyway. They aren't pushing to get people outside that sphere. Again, that's what I'm saying about being all over the place. Why are y'all even talking about this then? If it's about the art and you don't care if we, go through the desert to get the project, and you got people on Luminary to fuck with you like that,
Why
why
are
are
you
we
doing
even
all these
having this
rebuttal
conversation?
interviews?
Yeah.
Right. Why all the rebuttal interviews? This is like rebuttal interview number 3 or 4, isn't it?
Right. The splaining
So
is
obviously,
crazy.
this is what my guilty conscience always gonna talk, Mike. A guilty conscience gonna talk consciously or subconsciously at some point. And all these rebuttal interviews is because you know that you made a misstep. Just admit that you made a misstep. Like, it's okay. We make mistakes all the time. Mike, you know this personally about me. I just got done making one of the biggest mistakes in my life. And I've suffered from it, but I've had to acknowledge it as a man and move forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, grow up. It was a misstep. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes with your audience. People do it all the time. Michael Jackson has made mistakes with his audience. Prince has made mistakes with his audience. Janet, Madonna, like you name it. Stop acting like you're above the fray. Say that you made a mistake, correct the mistake. Drop a single in a video to start to show that you're correcting the mistake.
Don't
a single
denigrate
in a
the
video
audience,
to correct the mistake. This is rap. A single in a video. I'm gonna say it again for all the A&Rs out there that have been fired. A single in a video. Even if you want to keep it on Luminary, how about a single in a video? Can we get some YouTube streams for something that doesn't involve Mos Def talking about this project and eating in between or telling me that he's the common everyday working man? Because I'm so sick of that. I just want a video to Yonders. How about that?
Yeah.
Can I get a video to Yonders?
Yeah. 36 Chambers says, good point, Mike, on the Black Star shows. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. People they do perform, right? You do get concert money, right? You understand where that's coming from. That's essentially coming from the fan that has been supporting you, that you sat there and told didn't pay you for the Black Star support they paid Universal. What are we talking about? Who says that?
Why would you ever
Why would you even think that? And then to actually say that over and over.
How entitled are you that this is your frame of mind and your train of thought, Mike? That's what I'm trying to say. That is an elitist, 1% entitled frame of mind, period, point blank. It doesn't matter if it comes from a 40-something-year-old black guy from Brooklyn or a 50-something-year-old white guy from Orange County, California. Like, it doesn't matter. It's still an entitled and elitist opinion and attitude, and there's just not much space for that in a hip-hop format, especially when you're being championed your whole career as somebody that technically kind of is looked at as like a people's champ or somebody that walks with the people or a group that the people love or the underground kings of East Coast hip hop. You feel what I'm saying? It's like you have so many positive monikers that come with this status and then you just brush it all away because you made a mistake. It's like, well, no. Like, you made a mistake, not us. Like, we've been here waiting for the project.
And speaking of mistakes, it's not the fans' fault you ain't get paid for the first album. Don't put that on the fans. You know what I'm saying? That's like if you got an album, I like your joint, I paid $10 for it, and I'm like, yo, man, Coop, that shit was great, man. I bought your album. Man, you ain't support me. Big Cat got that shit. What? Who says that?
Okay, so, hold on, Mike, proof to life, actually. Somebody that I work with, their whole crew was like, yeah, Coop, like, we actually researched you last night, and we all went and, like, downloaded your album. I said, Apple seeing all of that. And I said, I ain't gonna see nothing. Next. You feel me? Like, thanks for the love.
But they gave the love, you know what I'm saying?
No, and I appreciate it, but, like, the love was real, but it's like I was also telling them how the business worked. And, like, the love is real. So it's like, but I didn't blame them for Apple not giving me any money, Mike. Like, I wasn't like, I ain't eating off of that, so you shouldn't have done that, right? You should have went over here and got it. Because here's the thing about it, Mike. You can get my album that I put out on other streaming platforms where the money kind of gets to me quicker and ain't like the mob like Apple is. But the quickest thing for people to do is to go through Apple. So I can't do nothing but thank you for the love and the support and keep it pushing because that was what was available to you, Mike.
Well, in their situation, they have the ability to, hit the stage and get that love in real dollar formats. You know what I mean? But I don't know what they signed with Luminary. Obviously, Luminary came with the bag. And so, again, there are a lot of unknown variables here. You know what I'm saying? That we're kind of just, I don't want to say speculating, but we're
Well,
we're
here's the real
making we're
variables.
putting the puzzle pieces together, and certain things fit, certain things don't. Because again, why
Well,
isn't there a vinyl? Why isn't there just something where you're selling directly to the fans? If it's about you getting the direct support monetarily, right?
well, here's the real problem with it is that for whatever you may think, and I still literally thought up until Freddie Gibbs' Soul Sold Separately that if you wanted to say No Fear of Time was album of the year still, I wasn't going to argue with you because I know what I heard, even though I haven't heard it in a minute. I know what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
But what their problem is that, well, it's not a clear cut head and shoulders above everything else. There is the Black Thought Cheat Codes album. There is the Che Noir Food for Thought. There is the Ransom No Rest for the Wicked. There is Earth Gang Ghetto Gods.
Mm-hmm.
There is the JID. You get what I'm saying? There is the Pusha T. There is the Benny. There is a Vince Staples. There is KRS-One's album, Mike. Remember KRS's album?
Yeah.
There's Conway's album. I got my list pulled up right now.
It's
There's
Method
Meth
Man's
album.
bar work out there.
Method Man's bar work was stellar this year. I mean, and so there's stuff everywhere. And so, you know what all of those great albums have that you don't have?
Access.
And so,
And singles, and many of them.
and videos and interviews that are actually talking about the project, not a rebuttal for what the project didn't do or provide.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And so it's like, you understand to give this album of the year is to slight all the real genuine work all these other artists just did. And that's where I have a problem with it because technically, content wise, it's still probably the best between that and the Black Thought. But I am not picking this album over Freddie Gets Soul Separately because the production's better, the organization is better, the engineering is better, the sequencing is better, the rapping at is a high level. There is a more of a relatable street factor to this album. Hip hop is in the streets. These guys keep forgetting that. You can go as far out in space as you want, like Rakim did on Follow the Leader, or like Einstein did with the theory of relativity. But like both geniuses did, back to earth, back to the ground.
Yeah. Let me get to these super chats real quick. Jay Short says, you want another album, Mike, because subconsciously you know that they didn't reach their potential on the first album and it left you wanting more. And you know what? It's not even subconsciously. I've been very open about that. Because again,
ain't nothing subconscious about what Mike did.
no, I mean, because at the end of the day, that album came out, I feel like the same day as Akumina, or at least around it. So I knew what the difference was. So it wasn't like I was clouded. I knew what this album was and I knew what Akumina was, but I knew what those guys were individually because they really start flexing their individual skills as soloists after the fact. And so, yes, that did make me want more. Jay Short also says, what does Madlib think about all this? Was this discussed with him ahead of time? If he hadn't got paid up front, this is hurting his bag too. Now, Yassine said in the interview that Madlib's all for this part of the process. So it sounds like...
I mean, because Madlib got so much stuff going on that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Because he's a producer, Mike. He got so many other bags he can jump in and so many other residual streams set up. But here's also what I'd submit to you, too. And this is what I mean about part of it felt kind of conny. When he was talking about, he's like, how did we rush this album? This album took 24 years. It's like, well, you and Talib haven't worked on this album for 24 years, fam. Don't lie to the people and say that. You see how he tried to frame that just like a politician?
Yeah.
How can this album be rushed when it took 24, 25 years to make? It didn't take you 24, 25 years to make it. It took 24, 25 years for y'all to get your ass together and in a room for about 9 days to make this happen. That's what happened. But so you did rush it. And instead of acknowledging the fact that it's a quarter century gap and you all might have rushed the recording process of it, you try to con it and frame it and flip it, and I'm not buying what you're selling. It's sold separately.
36 Chambers with the super chat says, on music merit alone, can No Fear of Time be kept in the discussion for album of the year? Thoughts? Sonically, it's unique and deserves mention regardless of access, in my opinion. Well, see, the thing is, 36 Chambers, it becomes super opinion then, because I know what I heard. Coop said he knows what he heard. but we lean a lot on you guys' input. Even with the Patreon that we do, we put it in you guys' hands. And if people haven't heard it or have the ability to, access it, it's
But
hard for it to be considered over a cheat code or over a sold separately.
let me reframe this. And I think I'm saying this the wrong way. And so I need to try to reformat what I'm saying. When I'm saying you don't have access to this album, I'm saying you don't know how good or how classic it really is because you don't know if you've gotten tired of it yet. I've already listened to Soul Sold separately more than I've heard No Fear of Time. I'm nowhere close to being tired of it, but I have access. I don't know right now that if I would have heard No Fear of Time, the number of times that I've heard Soul Sold separately, if I would feel the same way about it. And that's why the access mattered. It's not about the instant rush. It's not about the sales. It's not about the money. It's not about the capitalism. It's about the timeless theme and replayability factor, because that is really how we deem and judge our classics. And you have to play something. Mike, you and I talk about how you still play a Aquemini and I still play the Purple Tape. We know those albums backwards and forwards. We literally know every word that's about to get said before it gets said. But for some reason, we still get excited to play it because the replayability and the timeless theme of it never dies to us. We don't have the opportunity because of how they've done it to give No Fear of Time that same type of run. And it's not right.
It's not right, like you said, to the other albums, and we don't have that balanced scale to be able to weigh
We
it
don't.
on. And we
It's not
also
there.
don't know if, because of the lack of access, maybe I'm putting this on more of a pedestal because I can't get right to it.
You are. That's why I keep that's why I keep telling you is like, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I know we're supposed to do the Justin Havoc on the Patreon on Monday, but I really think that we need to pause and play No Fear of Time, Cheat Codes, and Soul Sold separately, because I'm telling you what, my ears, from what I can recall of No Fear of Time right now, and from listening to Cheat Code still and Soul Sold separately, Mike, I think there might even be a gap in terms of Soul Sold separately being better than these two albums, because just production wise, what it's going to do when you put it next to some of the stuff that's on No Fear of Time and on Cheat Codes is it's just like getting hit with a Joe Frazier hook, Mike. It's like a Mike Tyson uppercut. It's like, oh no, like I know how great your content is. Like this is not all about the lyrical miracle content. I'm sorry, this is music. So like your organization matters, the structure matters, the engineering, the beat selection. The beat selection on Soul Sold separately is more futuristic and better engineered and more diverse than Cheat Codes and No Fear of Time.
Well, another thing
And I don't
about
mean that as any disrespect to Madlib or Danger Mouse. They're great producers. Sold separately, beats are better. The production's better. The engineering's better. The transition of the sequencing of the songs is better. The versatility is off the charts. Do you think that Black Thought or Yasin and Talib could go ride a DJ Paul beat like that right now, Mike? You feel what I'm saying?
I would love to
That's
see
where
it, but I
Soul
don't know.
separately is gonna crush them. It's like you gonna play something like Yonders. I'm gonna go, man, cut that YSL on. Give us that shit we can ride to right quick.
Let me say this. I think another thing too that's troubling about this format is the fact that with it being on one format and as far as the engineering not sounding up to snuff, and there was a lot of people that were saying things about the sonics and just how it was coming through the speakers. We don't know if it's Luminary. We don't know if it's the actual engineering because it's on one platform. We don't have a physical piece of the music to play it where it's like, oh no, it sounds great here. Or if you listen to it on, let's just say, if it was on all platforms, on Apple Music it sounds great. On on Spotify it sounds a little less, whatever. We don't know because it's on a platform that doesn't play other people's music. It's a platform that's built for podcasts, so we don't know if these sound quality issues are with the actual music or if it's with the platform. So it's another question mark we have.
Well, see, but this is what I mean. So, well, Gibbs already got them on sound quality, production, engineering, structure, organization, all the fundamental things that, make an album. So he's already got that covered. But Mike, let's go to actual quality of songs. Couldn't Be Done, Blackest in the Room, Zipper Bags, Too Much, Lobster Omelet, Space Rabbit, Feel No Pain, Rabbit Vision. PYS, Dark Hearted, Gold Rings, Grandma Love, CIA Decoded. Mike, where did I name a whack song? Where did I name a questionable record? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it may not be a hip hop classic, but this album has really no missteps. If you're telling me that Offset joint and the Money Bag Yo joint are the weakest songs on here, Mike, that is the album of the year.
I wouldn't have a problem with this album.
And you get a clarity from
2022.
Gibbs that you don't get out of these guys. That's why I said you got to be careful about who you cling to. Do you hear how he's talking on, what is it? Rabbit Vision. Do you hear how he's talking on Rabbit Vision? And even how he talks about he was in his feelings about the Jeezy shit and he spoke on it. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Do you think Yasin and Talib are going to pull up and talk about No Fear of Time and backtrack with that type of clarity and forthrightness and be like, no, I was wrong for calling him out right there. As a matter of fact, the man showed me how to be a boss. And even though we ain't spoke in years, I got love for that man. That's what I'm talking about. Give me that guy that's talking that way, whose album is put together better over your conscious lyrical rapper every day of the week, especially when the conscious lyrical rapper, Mike, isn't giving us full access. Like, you got some nerve. After a quarter century, no access, double. How Jay on Takeover?
Jay Short says, I think Black Star thought that they were going to come back and fill a void and cash out. But stuff like Shay Noir, Black Thought, Alfredo, they filled that void first. Late to the party. Blue Collar Hustle says, sorry, there's no song on SSS better than Aquamarine, excuse me. That's the hip hop song of the year until KD3 drops.
I agree.
Yeah, it's hard to. I think that is the best hip hop song I've heard all year.
I told you, Mike. Remember when they had dropped the Strangers record? I was like, Mike, I went back and listened to Aquamarine. I was like, Aquamarine's the best rap song this year, and it still is the best rap song this year. We weren't talking about rap song of the year though. We were talking about rap album of the year, and having the rap song of the year has never gotten you rap album of the year. Like never, like ever. And so
I would like to see how So Separately matches up with Black Thought's album. Definitely.
Me too. But I'm telling you, like,
but those are the top three though, right?
Production wise, when you just place it against No Fear of Time and you start playing these records and how it's coming through and the way Gibbs is talking and the energy and the emotion and the honesty and the clarity and the versatility and the diversity. And it's like, you over here like, man, that other album sure was futuristic. It's like, that's great. That's one notch versus like 10 though.
And, I think there is the criticism where Yasin is not really giving the energy that some people want. I didn't have a problem with his delivery. I didn't have a problem with his delivery because the bars were there. But I could understand, people feeling that way. Because his energy was always a highlight in these Black Star records. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's no disrespect to Talib. Talib is an incredible lyricist. And I think when you listen to that first Black Star album, you look forward to hearing Mos Def's energy. Mos Def energy had a lot to do with Black Star and its success. And with his energy not there,
I would say his energy is part of his approach on the mic as a tactician.
Yeah.
And what I would tell you, and you and I both said this, we felt like he intentionally tried to change that, and we did not dock him for that. But what I have told people is that, well, Mike and I did not dock him for that, but people did.
Yeah, I heard that a lot.
And then people went back. I mean, I had people speaking of Gibbs, I had people literally pull up in this chat and be like, yo, Coop, the beats on Bandana are better than the beats on No Fear of Time. And then I went back and listened, and they're right. Well, hold on, the one with... They're right. Hold on. Which one is Madlib? Is Madlib?
That's the one Madlib did.
Yeah, Bandana, right. The one with Palm Olive with Pusha T, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yasin's on there.
36 Chambers with the super chat says, how do you feel about Freddie's rap voice? Or how do we feel about Freddie's rap voice? He can make some dope songs and has a good flow switches, but his voice is a bit sleepy and muddy to me. Thoughts? He does have an acquired taste when it comes to his voice. At first, I wasn't really into it, but I like his voice. I think he has a dope rap voice. I will say this, when it comes to him doing more of a rapid flow, his voice isn't as clear as others would be.
Yeah, and he can't help that. He's just from the Midwest, so he's going to rapid flow on you. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But that's what I mean. He's such an interesting character because I've never heard anybody with as gruff and a raw voice as him make even the rapid fire flow work like that. Like the way that it's working on Alfredo, like on 1985 and on God is Perfect. It's like, well, you don't hear guys with voices like that even try to flip it like that.
Right.
You feel me? They don't even try, Mike. That's what I mean about like his degree of difficulty and his agility and his versatility. It's like, you understand, he tries things and does things vocally. Most guys with his voice don't even attempt to do.
Somebody
like
said
even
Bandana
attempt.
is one of the best rap albums of the past decade. We feel that way about Alfredo as well. What does it say about
What
Fred?
did they say?
Somebody said Bandana is one of the best rap albums of this decade. And
So is Alfredo. You're right.
I mean,
Yeah,
over
no,
the
he has
last
a couple
decade,
of them already.
excuse me.
This is number 3.
Yeah, it's
This
crazy.
is number 4 in a row, Mike. He's literally 4 for his last 4 albums.
What does it say about him? Well, this is where
He's
I
4 for
want to
4.
leave. This
Like,
is,
think about
I was going to say,
this.
this is where I want to leave this topic. They need to put out a single, and they need to put out a physical form of it, and just stop downing the fans, man. It's not the fans' fault that you didn't get paid for the first Black Star album. I think that's just wrong.
How about this? Here's how we can finish it on my side. If Yasin Bey had dropped 4 albums, the quality of Freddie Gibbs' last 4 albums, we would be talking about, is he the greatest MC of all time?
I think that's fair. People want us to talk. People want
I just say that like it's who the people want to champion sometime, and it'd be absurd. It's like I'm always going to give it to the guy that puts in the work and actually has the work sitting right there and actually wants it more. Like Mike, you and I both think Tom Brady might be like not even just like the greatest football player at this point, but like one of like a Mount Rushmore athlete. Like Mike, you have to understand this guy's like literally arguably about to lose the finest woman on earth, who's literally worth about double what he's worth, so he can throw a damn football for another year. Like, give me that guy. Like, he literally is putting everything on the line. No, give me that guy every time, because that guy is really saying something.
My nigga, listen. This is why we watch sports. For people who, this is why we get into
he got Giselle, Mike. No, give me that guy. That guy hungry still.
I mean, even
just
when
I'm gonna leave if you don't retire this time. He like, you gonna have to leave. I'm going to play football.
Even when it comes to like Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, they gave their lives to this shit, man. And listen, you don't have to do all that. It's cool. But don't sit here and act like you've done it when you didn't. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mike, I remember Deion Sanders' Hall of Fame speech where he just apologized, like, for pretty much not being checked in at all because he was concerned with being the best football player on the planet.
Yeah, it's what it takes. And you know what?
He's like,
I know we say a lot on this show.
I wouldn't have gotten there without you all putting up with the fact that I pretty much just did my thing. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And you know what? And before we get on to the next topic, that's why I didn't love that entertainers and artists comment, because I feel like, in my opinion, that was a knock to people like Jay-Z that gave us product. And it made sure every single year this nigga was coming with work.
It felt like
even if he wasn't inspired, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote, because he's an artist too. And I don't like when people try to write Jay off as just a businessman. Nah, that nigga's nice. Yeah, that nigga's one of the best lyricists ever. And so when people just be like, oh, Jay's a businessman, blah, blah, blah. No, he's an artist too. He just knows how to do both.
Who's a better lyricist, Jay or Mos?
In my opinion, Jay.
Me too.
In my opinion, Jay. I mean, the work speaks for itself. Andrew Green with the super chat says, only person that has surpassed Freddie's quality of music over the last few albums is Nas.
Correct.
Because Bandana, Alfredo, and Soul Sold separately, albums run is not too far off from KD, KD2, and Magic, in my opinion.
Hold on. I mean, if you really wanted to parse hairs, I think Bandana's better than KD1. We could. I told you, Mike. In terms of like this era, I have Magic and Alfredo ahead of KD2.
Yeah.
And I would put Soul Sold separately in KD2 in comparable territory. And so I think the run is damn near even. And Magic would probably be the nod.
If we went in order,
ahead of Alfredo, but it's damn near identical. So think about it.
If we went in order, though, it's Freddie, because Alfredo's better than KD2.
Because Alfredo's better than KD2. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would actually, if we were going in order, how about this? If we were going overall, I think it would be Nas because it would go Magic Alfredo. Hold on. No, it would go, yeah, it would go Magic Alfredo, KD2 probably.
Bandana, and then
Sold separately. Oh no, Mike, it
I don't
still
know.
might be Freddie because it's all about how you feel about KD1 and sold separately, or
Yeah.
Bandana, I guess. Because
I
I
would
actually think
say
sold separately is better than Bandana.
it's all about Bandana and KD2. I think Bandana could be better than KD2.
Not better than KD2. Sold separately could be better than KD2 to me. But that's all about how you feel about the projects. You might like Bandana more. Like this production on Sold Separately is arguably the best production job since Daytona.
Mm. Well, with that, we'll move on, man. People want us to talk about. I mean, man, we're 2.5 hours in. People want us to talk about this Kanye West shirt, "White Lives Matter." What do you have to say about this?
You know, the whole I mean, are you familiar with Black Lives Matter, Mike? Like in terms of what's been going on with them?
Of course, I'm very familiar with that.
And so I really feel like this is almost like Ye in satire and parody.
He made a statement about that. I think you might have seen that.
I'm glad he did, because that's really, and that's not to excuse behavior. I was literally
this
having
is
a
what he
conversation
said, though, just before you start. He said, we all know the Black Lives Matter was a scam, so now it's gone. Now it's dead. Thank you. Or something along those lines.
Well, what he's talking about is the misappropriation of Black Lives Matter, and how the funds have been pilfered and misappropriated by the people who helped bring the organization to national prominence. And he's pretty much saying, I believe with these shirts that you can't trust anybody or take anybody too seriously. But here's where I'm going to quibble back. It just reeks of people who have too much money thinking that they can get away with anything.
Yeah.
And he's been doing a lot lately. This is what I mean, where it's like, well, I don't want to be too critical of the brother because, you know, mental health is real. Being separated from your family and your children who you love dearly is real. You know what I mean? Like, you know, alcohol and addiction is real. Like, there's so many things that are probably in his peripherals and straight view that is very, very real and can, you know, emotionally, you know, pull at you certain ways. But with some things, you just got to get a grip. Like, stop with the trash bags and the T-shirts that say White Lives Matter. Just stop. And this is what I mean. See, this nigga don't have no A&R either that was walking in here and be like, hey, that's not fashion and this shit is stupid. Stop fucking shit up. Get your ass in the studio. A&R.
All right. I think anything that interrupts with a movement is unnecessary, right? Like, I think that, like you said, him using the Black Lives Matter, I guess, branding and shirts. Okay, let me rewind real quick. You're familiar with Tamir Rice, correct?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and Tamir Rice's mother made it very clear that she didn't appreciate, and this is before all the scandals with Black Lives Matter, she didn't appreciate that organization using, you know, her child's likeness for donations and to sell shirts. And the victims of this violence never got paid a dime for this stuff, right?
It's criminal.
It is. It is. And it's treasonous. It's everything. But I think far up the food chain, you know, the people who have funded that organization are white people.
Yes.
And so
that's why I was asking. That's why I was asking. Do you know what's really going on with them? As in,
yeah. So
okay.
I mean, so if he's coming from a place where, and I'm not excusing any of it, because again, I think the fact that Candace O is sitting right there with them with the same shirt is problematic. That, you know, that kind of takes out any validity, period, right? But if he's coming from a place where it's like, okay, well, I am gonna sell these White Lives Matter shirts, and I'm giving the money that, you know, that Black Lives Matter should have given to these families, giving them to Tamir Rice's family, giving them to, you know what I'm saying, everybody who was used to build up this profit for this organization, this nonprofit organization, then someone could somewhat jive with that. But it just seems contrary and
But
trolling, for lack of a better term. And I think certain things are poor taste in trolling. And I think that the trolling part for me, again, is having Candace Owens right there with you with matching shirts. Because we all know
let's
what Candace Owens represents. She's been very vocal about what she represents, what she's about, and who she caters to. So I think that if he were just doing this on a solo level, then maybe there would be some conversation. And I do think that Kanye West has done enough work and has given us a lot more content and substance than most, if any, hip hop artist on his level. So he does deserve to explain things. But if someone felt like because Candace Owens is right there and that does all the explanation for it, I can feel that too.
so and I'm going to try to be very serious about what I say. When you're dealing with somebody who is exhibiting characteristics, Michael, being bipolar, you really don't know what emotionally psychological bag of tricks you're going to get from day to day. So everything that you're saying, both things could be true. It could be like, this could be the same guy that's on We Major that says, ask the Reverend, was the strip club cool? If my tips help send a pretty girl through school. You know,
Yeah.
like this is like that's so he's known to have this contrary train of thought. It's like, well, no, you can look at it like it's bad, but if this money that I'm using for something that you deem as bad actually goes towards helping somebody good, isn't that good at the end of the day? Because the word would tell you that you'll be forgiven for that at the end, you know? And so he poses those type of questions about life with some of his behavior, okay? And so that part of it can exist. But the mental health bipolar side of it and this nigga having a bad day can exist too, Mike. You feel what I'm saying? And a bad day with your mental health can lead to negative emotions and bad ideas. And when you have the type of wealth and therefore resources that he has, oh, you can make a lot of shit happen real fast that literally could be classified as psychologically like unbalanced or crazy. And this is where we are with Kanye, because it could possibly be both of those things in all honesty.
I want to take it to a different degree though. And I think that
Go ahead.
what is interesting about, this scenario, you get many of the I like to call them the blue check Twitter people with a whole bunch to say. But when all this Black Lives Matter stuff was going on and Tamir Rice's mother was saying what she was trying to say and getting her voice heard, motherfuckers was silent. And I find that very interesting. That Kanye puts on a shirt and everybody got all these big stanzas and all this stuff that they got to say about it. But you have an organization that, some of these blue check people are affiliated with. They weren't doing right by the families who lost loved ones to the hands of police, and you're not saying anything. I just don't. I wouldn't feel comfortable with myself when knowing that a man put on a shirt and I got all these emotions and things to say, which rightfully so. But when something else fucked up happened that you're clearly aware of, you said nothing. I just find that interesting.
Leroy Green is like, bipolar doesn't excuse behavior. Like, no, but what I'm speaking to is that when you take somebody that has a real emotional, psychological condition, and then you place that person under duress. Oh, I don't know, a nationally publicized divorce and separation from your children. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that one thing alone is enough to make the tick go tick, tick, boom. Like, that's it. Like, that's all it takes. That's why I tell people, it's like, no, mental health is real. Like, and in all honesty, when you're dealing with an artist, it could be some personality dissociative disorder, because you're literally living a life where you're creating a persona, Ye, Yeezy, Kanye West. You feel what I'm saying? No, these things play on the mind for real. People don't understand. of somebody who might already have mental health issues, might be dealing with some schizophrenia, some personality, some bipolar, a divorce, not getting to see his goddamn kids away. Like, I mean, Mike, you can be totally in your well mental health frame of mind and be separated from your wife and kids, and that's enough to go make you do some crazy shit.
Blue Collar Hustle says, can we stop with the mental health excuse for Kanye? The
No, it's not
man
an
is.
excuse. It's a reality.
Oh,
I'm
let
not
me
making
finish the super
excuses for
chat
the
real quick.
behavior.
He
I'm
said
telling
that.
you what you're dealing with. There's a difference between explaining to people what you're dealing with than making excuses. Like, I'm telling you what I see going on, not making excuses for it.
Let me finish super chat. He said the man is literally hiding behind mental health in order to get away with his wacky, I guess ish. I mean, I don't think that we are at liberty to make those statements. I mean, I don't know if you're a doctor or MD or have
But
checked him out or anything. You
But
know.
I told you, but hold on. See, Blue Collar Hustle's not listening though, Mike, because when I started this diatribe, I started by saying somebody needs to grab his ass and tell him to stop this shit. Like, I literally said, stop the trash bags, stop the t-shirts, A&R. I literally said that. So Blue Collar Hustle needs to listen to the totality of the statements. Like, I appreciate the super chat, but I was very clear that I started this off by saying, nigga, stop.
Yeah, yeah, and I said that I don't agree with any of this, and somebody in the chat
Like,
said that
stop.
I deal with whataboutisms. No, not a whataboutism. It's just an observation. You know, when you see somebody, I mean, Kanye's an easy target. Let's just be real. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of crazy stuff that go. If everybody want to be so pro-black when he jumps out the window and does something like this, but all this other stuff going around, I really feel a way about the fact that Tamara Rice's mother not only lost her child because he had a toy gun in the park, but now you got to deal with motherfuckers out here raising money on your son, your dead son's behalf, and you can't even get in contact with them. Like, no,
Right.
I feel a way about that. You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
I, I
And
mean,
the
Mike,
fact
no, it's
that and the
somebody.
fact that blue check folks out there don't feel enough about that to even say anything, but this triggers you, is weird to me.
Exactly.
It's weird to me.
So Kanye's not the whole problem here, and also too, and to the Black Lives Matter thing. Oh no, I mean, Mike, I can't imagine how Tamir Rice's mother feels about that situation, Mike. I just know from being at the big first rally that they had down here and almost getting my ass arrested about the cause. When I found out about all the fraudulent and misgiving things within the framework of this structure and all the nefarious things and the people involved in what they have been doing, I was sick to my stomach as somebody that actively participated and protested under that realm. And I'm really glad that I didn't do anything like sign up for any of those newsletters and all that, because really it turned out to be just, I think, a way to keep tabs on black folks in the area.
Facts.
All it really was hold on, to quote Freddie Gibbs on Soul Sold Separately, crack, Instagram, and AIDS, it was straight CIA what Black Lives Matter was really doing. And so I'm glad I went to the rally, like to support and show cause, but the unfolding of it and the unfounding of it and what it really means and represents, oh, that ain't nothing but another knock list for the FBI to come knock on your door, take some more niggas out who matter.
The L Web 100 says we all go through our mental problems. There's still no excuse to coon out, though. Again, I would love to hear what he has to say about it, but again, I don't agree with it. I think that having Candace Owens there just is so problematic in the fact that whatever his quote unquote intentions were, they're gonna be null and void being associated right there. I mean, let's just be real. It was clout chasing. It brought attention to his fashion show, whatever he had going on, and it was ill advised, and it was in poor taste. It was in poor taste in the same way that, when he said, slavery was a choice, or, those statements.
I mean, this is what I mean when I mean he doesn't care when you have a certain amount of wealth and resources. Think about how he's talking to my beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy. It's not funny anymore. Try different jokes. What'd he say? Tell him, hug and kiss my ass. X and O. Know who you're dealing with. Know who you're dealing with.
Blue Collar Hustle
so that's what I'm
said,
saying. I'm not trying to capitulate to the mental health. It's like, no, but I see who he is based on what he says and what I'm dealing with.
Blue Collar Hustle said the last chat wasn't aimed at Coop, but all of us who continue to give Ye a pass for saying whatever he wants and nobody checks him. Now, I do get that was the fact that there does have to be some level of accountability. When it comes to
Can I
what you're
say
saying.
something?
There's a cause and effect for whatever you say and do. You know what I mean?
Yes. Can I say something in the rap realm of it?
Mm-hmm.
There have been times where I have wondered because on a rap level, Mike, it appears to me the past 10 years, the only guy that's been around him consistently is Pusha T. And not saying this is somebody obviously big fan of his, but just like on some real, like on some real nigga shit. It's like you ain't said nothing to fam. It's like I don't know if it's happened or not. He just doesn't strike me as the type of dude that would just be okay with the shits. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think this is the thing. I think that people have probably said something, but let's just be real. Kanye has made it to who he is by not listening to people. That's the
Right.
thing. Everything
Right.
I'm
And
not
so
made me
so
everything
so
I am.
so as
If
people
he
are
would
the
have
people
listened to
around Ye
people,
looking at it like
yeah. If
there's
he
no
would have
point even
listened to
talking to
people,
him.
if he would have listened to people, he never would have been a rapper in the first
But
place.
no, what I'm saying is that is that making the people around him, and I don't want to say like bow or kowtow, but just kind of be like, well, there's no point because he's
Yeah.
not going to listen. Well, here's what I would submit to you. There needs to be somebody in the room with something that's close enough to as strong as personality as him that will be like, no, nigga, fuck that shit and fuck what you talking. Like straight up, like to his face. That like will say it to him like that too. Like, no, nigga, that's corny shit. Like, what the fuck is that?
I think
Like straight
everybody
up,
has
like because you got to
somebody.
talk to somebody. Like I'm not even talking about his wealth or his arrogance. You got to talk to somebody that's strong in their mind, like on some straight up fundamental common sense level. Be like, that is some corny ass shit right there. You know that, right? Like straight up like that. Like you got to talk to the nigga like damn near like he's stupid for having the idea to get through.
I
Like
think
is
every
anybody talking to him that way? Or are they just like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea? Or somebody like, nigga, that's clown shit. You know that, right?
I think everybody has a person that they listen to, and and again, I
That
don't
person
know.
is gone for him, Mike, and we know that.
I mean, again, I was gonna say I don't know him, but just observing that documentary or whatnot, it appears that that was the one person that he would listen to no matter what.
And
Or
it's been
even if
all,
he,
it's,
but
and it's, and it's been,
he even went against her because he would have went to college or he would have stayed in college or whatever. But she supported that, and I think that everybody has that person that they can actually talk to,
but
and
he built his whole brand off of that too to show her the
mhm,
college dropout.
yeah.
Yeah,
Jay Short with the super chat says Kanye is gonna end up like Britney and lose his music.
no,
I
it won't
don't.
be.
I don't think he's at that point. But I do think that I will say this, and I know we don't get into the gossip or anything, but I think if he would have stayed in that marriage in that way, that case could have possibly been made, and some of that stuff could have been handed over to more of a quote unquote sound mind in his spouse. That could have happened
I think that was
legally.
probably happening behind the scenes. Some
I think he was saying something along those lines.
probably.
What's the last thing we got to get to? We probably got to get to a few things, man. What did we miss?
Um, we haven't talked about the Rome.
I feel like there's something else before we get to the Rome. I love the Rome joint.
I do too.
Oh, it was the Fat Joe thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'd rather do the Frome thing, but yeah, I guess.
Okay, we'll talk about the Fat Joe thing real brief. We'll keep it real brief because we almost 3 hours in already anyway. Blue Collar Hustle says the only person to publicly call out Ye was ironically enough Nas. Nas told Kanye to stop disrespecting our ancestors when he was on the Breakfast Club. Shout out to Nas, the rebel. And
More
I
OG
think
talk
Kanye
from
will
the
listen.
GOAT, Mike.
I think Kanye will listen to Nas. I believe that.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay, well, Fat Joe was on the Breakfast Club before he hosted the BET Hip Hop Awards, and this is what he had to say about the question when people were, constantly having issues with Fat Joe using the N-word. Said no one's going to pressure Fat Joe into not feeling or saying anything that he loves or believes in. He also ended up saying, do I look like a racist, yada yada. Here's my opinion on that, real quick. I just feel like if a group of people tell you that they feel a way about you addressing that group in a certain manner, and you're not a part of that group, then you should respect that, regardless of what your relationship is with maybe a few people in that group, that doesn't mandate the orders for the group as a whole. I mean, as an example, like if I grew up around, let's just say, a bunch of Asian people and we were cool, and there were certain things that they allowed me to say around them that they were cool with because they looked at me as their brother or whatever. That's fine. But if I get on a worldwide platform and I become a worldwide star, I can't apply that to the whole Asian populace. And if they tell me they have an issue with me saying that, I just can only respect that and keep it moving and change it up. And out of respect for the people that I say I love so much, just change it up. I think my only issue with Joe and this consistent thing, because I feel like this has been a consistent thing for years. Why does he keep fighting this? Like, what's the problem? Like, why why is it always a fight to be like, no, I can say whatever, nigga, 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 whatever. Like, what's the fight for? That's what's kind of weird to me.
So we got a black man selling White Lives Matters t-shirts, and we have a Latino who won't stop using the N-word.
Right.
I
Somebody
just
said, hold on, hold on.
just
So Born King says, are any of his black peers telling him that, Mike? They don't have to. He can go off with his black peers and say whatever
I've
he
been
wants
saying
to.
that to you though, Mike.
I feel you, but he can go with his black peers and say whatever he wants. And in my example, I can go with my Asian friends I grew up with and still say whatever I want. But if I'm speaking to the world, you can't say everything that you're saying around your people. Do you guys go to work and say everything that you say around your homies in the workplace?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? If niggas going to work talking about, yo, man, them bitches is bad, man. Like, really? Are we doing that?
Can I tell you something, you know? And this is what I mean. Like, every white person that's ever used the N-word around me is no longer around me anywhere more. Even former friendships. Like, I made it a point because, you know, white people are funny. They'll do it in certain settings so that they can't get, you know what I mean? But I've separated myself from all those people because, well, I'm sensitive like that. And better me just cut you out of my life than have to, you know, fuck you all the way up for life. But in this case, he feels empowered culturally because he belongs just as much in his mind. I'm telling you, in his mind, he belongs just as much to black culture as he does to Latin culture because of hip hop and his partaking in the hip hop culture and him being from the birthplace of hip hop in the Bronx. Black men using the N word to describe him his whole life. You get what I'm saying? He has been getting called a nigga his whole life. Even though, what is Joe, Puerto Rican, Dominican?
Puerto Rican.
He's Puerto Rican. Yeah. Right. So even though he's Puerto Rican, this nigga been getting called nigga for a long time, Mike. What are we gonna do about this Puerto Rican we've been calling my nigga? Because that would sound like we got some issues we need to be solving too. That's all I'm saying. We can't continue to just audit the guy who's making the mistake. It's like, well, psychologically, why is he making that mistake? It could be because these niggas keep calling this Puerto Rican nigga and this nigga from the Bronx. And so he probably gonna start being like, well, nigga, please, you can't tell a nigga like me who's been using the word nigga and being called a nigga from the Bronx where hip hop was created that in this hip hop sphere, I can't use the word nigga. And my response to that is like, that nigga might be right, even though it's wrong. Nigga might be right. Yeah.
All right, this is what I would have to say about that. And there's a lot to unpack there. What I would say is the fact that the world's bigger than New York. And I say that respectfully. And I'm sure in his travels, he realized that all that stuff that you're talking about probably wasn't the reality when he was going to other places. He knows that.
Probably not.
And so I think.
But look at the other places that he's probably been. Mike, he was in Miami. I get what you're saying, but how much of that other life did he really see?
I mean, I think that, you know, let's just be real here. What, Joe's 50-something? He's been famous longer than he was in the projects, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's experienced the world. And you know, and I think
I'm just devil's advocate. I'm playing devil's advocate.
No. And I'm glad you are, because I mean, I think those are some very valid points. But on top of that, I also think that as an adult, you have to really take in the information that you're getting. And never once was he saying like, you know what? I see how people could feel that way, blah blah blah, but this is how it goes. It's always nah. This you know what I'm saying? Like it's always on the defense. Like why is this always such a fight? People told you how they feel, and they're entitled to be able to tell you how they feel. I think the example I gave you offline,
There we
the
go.
F word in hip
Yep.
hop, like the F word that refers to, people in the homosexual community. Hip hop used to use that word rampant in rap songs.
I
And
told
once
you.
that became an issue and that became a slur publicly and on a massive level, everybody cut it out.
It's crazy how much 90s hip hop you'll hear where that word is tossed around. And it's
Yeah.
almost like as we entered into the 2000s. And I think some of the Eminem controversy, not to just throw him up randomly, some of the Eminem controversy and the traction that he brought to the spectrum of lyrics again, and some of his
He
verbiage
was
being
over the
considered.
top with it.
Right. So he
Yeah.
brought attention to it, which is pretty much how he got ousted from the lexicon. But I told you, definitely two of my favorite rappers of all time. I think two of yours too. Well, Ghostface and Prodigy, Mike, used to slang that F word around, and they just both stopped one day.
Yeah, DMX, rest in peace. Styles P. And,
Yeah.
and like I told you offline, like I remember the first time I went in the studio, I was like 17 or 18 years old. I had that in one of my rap lyrics, and my producer was like, "Yo, man, you can't say that, man." You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
that was well before that wave of it. But again, saying all that to say, when people say that they're offended, or a group of people say they're offended, we have experience in hip hop with taking certain things out of the lexicon.
We
So it's
do.
not like this is something that's never happened
I think
before.
I think it does create a sort of a macro and a potential macro and micro uh, cosm in economics of the situation where, well, why is it that when any community gets outraged with a how they're being treated, portrayed, viewed in society, even the legality and actual law or lawlessness of it, the uproar and the outrage is always enough to make things shake, except for when it comes to our people, Mike.
Right.
Now, I
Everybody want to
mean, and I'm
fight
not
you
being
like,
funny
yo,
because we just
man.
brought up the F word.
Yeah.
You know what weekend it is down here, right?
I don't know.
It's that time of year down here in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Pride weekend. And so it's amazing to me how, in a spectrum where homosexuals, gay people, lesbian culture, like I'm talking about the hip hop community, hasn't dominated nor thrived and have actually been ostracized, those who have like been outed or found out in various sorts of ways, or even rumor wise. It's amazing to me how they were able to get that word eradicated out of this culture altogether, that they really aren't even that big of a participant in, outside of a couple of nasty bastards who were considered to be originators that molested some children. But outside of those people, it really hasn't been prevalent in hip hop like that. It definitely hasn't been pushing the archetype or the motifs or the themes of the street at all. And that word was able to get eradicated. And so, from that perspective, it's not too much to ask Joe to stop using the N word, just off that premise alone.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened. Ray Realm says, "You brothers forgot about me again. Darn it. Hold on. It must have been some music. I'm going to check all the emails. We got it. We got to have a whole Ray Realm segment, man. I got to get to the email section and make sure we cover that on Friday when we're covering the music." Mad Max says,
Hit me up on Instagram, like slide in my
yeah,
DMs
yeah,
on
yeah.
Instagram.
Sliding, yeah. Mad Max
Yeah.
says, "I'm gonna say this. Puerto Ricans say the word all the time in NY. I think Fat Joe at this age not gonna allow non-New York people to tell him he can't. Also, Fat Joe acknowledges Afro roots within Hispanics. Well, see, this is the thing, though. Once again, the world's bigger than New York, and you have to understand that the black lexicon and black American lexicon is not just stringent to the New York borders. What does outside New Yorkers have to do with anything? You know what I'm saying? If somebody in Alabama who marched through Selma tells Fat Joe that they're offended by him saying that word, he gonna say, "Oh man, you ain't from New York, you don't get it." Really?
Mm. No, you make a valid point.
Really? Like, come on,
Oh, that's a
man.
very valid point.
What are we doing, man? Like, again, I get it. Like you said with the Black Star thing, people make mistakes. Just own up to your mistake. I think that's the problem, that
Wow.
the issue that I have with it. Why is he fighting us about it?
So I'm going to keep on saying this again. A lot of people, like, it's easy to call somebody a hater when they're telling you the truth and you just don't want to look at the truth and like receive it for what it is. We deify these guys at a very young age and make them feel like they're heroes and that they're untouchable and that they're beyond reproach. Like, it's our fault that they behave this way because we place them on an undeserved pedestal that men really don't deserve to be placed on by other men and women. We deify them, and if we would just stop deifying them and keep it to the music and even the positive impact and cultural influence, or even the just effective change influence. Like, you can look at somebody like NWA, might not have been effective change wise, but impact wise. You get
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, let's keep it to these things and audit the people these way. I mean, not these ways, excuse me.
Miss LB with the super chat says the difference is other nationalities are involved in the pride community, and the N word is only in the black community. So yeah,
That's
yeah. So
no,
like I said, we.
very good. No, it's a very good statement. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say this, and let's just be real. You remember when I don't even like to say this on YouTube because people's page get flagged, but the C word hit in 2020, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when Fat Joe had that insensitive line about the virus and Asians or whatever that was on that Benny record, he apologized.
Mm.
It was no fight, nothing.
It's like, yeah, I didn't mean it. That was my bad.
Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, I wrote that rhyme before,
Yeah,
blah
the
blah blah.
Wuhan
You know what I
virus
mean? Like,
line.
that's
Yeah, he
all I'm
apologized
saying.
immediately. It wasn't even 24 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but with us, it's a fight. Like, why? That's the part I don't understand.
Well, it's the ego. I'm telling you, I've been listening to these Yasin interviews. Like, I'm so happy Freddie Gibbs is on this 4-album run and not Yasin. You think I'm joking, Mike? If he would have made 4 albums in a row like this, do you know how he would be talking and behaving right now? It would be like trying to talk to Prince after he made Purple Rain at the Grammys. It's like Prince doesn't want you looking directly at him. That's the type of shit he would be on after the 4-album run that Gibbs is on. Because look at what he's on for not having even done a Black Star album in a quarter century. When was your last solo rap album?
It was it Auditorium?
What year was that, Mike?
That was like, damn, that was '09. Nah, it had to be one before then. No. Correct us if we're wrong in the chat. Last thing, Rome Streets.
So let me see, a decade between your solo album, 25 years before your group album, and you talking like this. If he was on Freddie's run, Purple Rain, he'd be like, "Don't look at me," and When Doves Cry. All right. There's no baseline right there. I'm a genius. He'd be on that because he borderline already there right now.
Because again, look, I see people in the chat saying Joe's good with them, yada yada. Listen, I'm not trying to bash anybody. All I'm saying is everybody is entitled to their opinion, but I feel like this. If I walk in a room, it could be 20 people of another group. If 18 people in that group are cool with me saying certain things and 2 people aren't, I'm going to fix my language for that group, for that room that I'm in. I'm just going to do that out of respect. I'm not going to have people uncomfortable with what I'm saying when they've already made it clear that they don't like me saying certain things that refer to them and their ethnicity. I'm just not going to do that. That's all I'm saying.
The Ecstatic is 2009, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, so my daughter was born
Not
in
the Auditorium, the Ecstatic. I said the Auditorium. That was the song with Slick Rick, but yeah.
Yeah, I know what you were talking about. Yeah, the Ecstatic is 2009, Mike. Black Star, Most Def and Talib Kweli present Black Star is 1998. So his last solo album was 13 years ago. His last group album was 24, going on 25 years ago. Like, come on. Like, that's what I'm talking about deifying an ego. It's like, you haven't even done any work to deserve this type of pub. Like, literally.
It's crazy, and we're in
Tell
an
me
era.
I'm wrong. Like, tell me what I just said that wasn't factually true. Your last rap album as a solo artist was 2009. Your last group album was 1998. Who do you think you are?
No, it's facts. Ray Rim
Who do
says
you think you are?
the Soul Messiah album. Shay
You ain't been the
Noir.
mighty most deaf in a long time.
Hold on, let me get the Ray Rims because he feels like we're ignoring, some of his input.
Please.
The Soul Messiah album, Shay Noir, Rock. She did her thing in the cipher last night too, and more. All right,
Hold
I'm
on.
writing down the Soul Messiah.
Well, no, I'm about to say no. I downloaded God Complex Soul Messiah and have started listening.
Okay.
So we are getting to you, Ray Realms. I got God Complex right here next to the Rome Streets and the Prodigy.
How long? Mad Max says, how long was people having a problem with Fat Joe saying it? Because he been using the word with puns since the '90s. Well, I think the thing is, Mad Max, since we're able to talk to each other on the internet now, I think that a lot of people who may have had a problem just didn't have a voice to actually, or a platform to actually voice those things. And now that people are, whether it be a huge faction or a small faction of a group, are actually expressing those things, and it becomes a topic to the point where he's even asked this on the Breakfast Club. At that point, it's like, okay, well, I acknowledge that problem, and you know what? I'm gonna do something about it. Other than fighting it, I'm just saying. Who does that?
Right. No, you're right. Who?
Like, who does that? And I think, like you said, Coop, to piggyback on what you said, it seems to be it's only a fight when it involves black folks. Oh yeah, y'all don't deserve no reparations. It's like,
You be all right.
damn.
But hold on. But look, with the Indians, they be like, no, we did y'all wrong. Take these reservations. Take this. Black people be like, no, we bought you here, and you're okay now.
The Redskins got their team changed. They're called the Washington Football Team now.
It's real, Mike.
It's real. Other people get stuff done, and
the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Cleveland Guardians. But with us, like, you shouldn't be offended. They're mad at us. And I say us as a collective group. They're mad at black people for being offended. It's crazy.
And look, Mike, and they literally close the door after conversations like these, and this is exactly what they say. Those niggas tripping.
Yeah. It's like...
Next subject, Mike. They literally close the door and say, these niggas are tripping.
It's like, you taking this too serious. Like I said, it's just, like we said with the Nas interview, or Nas review from Pitchfork, it's a tone, man. You know what I'm saying? If somebody comes to you with a grievance, and then that person comes to you with aggression about that grievance, that's not a way to get anything done. Just saying. Jay Short says, think Fat Joe's ID acknowledges his Afro roots? Of course not.
Why can't we all just get along? Why can't we get along?
We can. Why can't everybody just be respectful?
Well, that's part of getting well, the key to this is you're totally right. The key to getting along is respecting each other. As in everybody getting equal shake on the respect. These are the problems that we suffer from here as Black Americans, because it's like they try to make it seem like the fairness is equally yoked. I want you to understand we're living in a time where we have watched the Mexican and the Hispanic populace literally become important to get taken care of better than the Black community. Same thing with the gay, lesbian, transgender, homosexual population. It's like literally every subgenre that's not white on the demographic chart is being respected legally, socially, culturally more than us.
Economically.
And it's like, and you drug us niggas here, the least you niggas can do is stop saying nigga. Nigga.
Or at least act like you care about the fact that people got a problem with you saying it. Do you not understand the problem?
Nigga, please.
Right.
These niggas don't care about that.
Right. Mad Max in the super chat says, I feel Joe also feels like it's new people who want to be picky now. Because I heard Fat Joe's songs back in the day. Songs dating back to the 90s, saying that there was no outrage from him back then. Well, I mean, again, to that argument, I'll use the F word reference again. There was no outrage when people were using the F word rampant in rap songs referring to homosexuals. But when people did have a problem with it, it changed. So I don't want to hear that, I've been saying this since the 90s or whatever. Go tell that to the LGBTQ community. Tell them, you know what? I'm going to keep using the F word even though you don't like it because I've been using it since the 90s. Miss LB says, I agree with Mike D on this. Sorry, this pop up came. I agree with Mike D on this Fat Joe subject. We as black people let anything slide and then wonder why we stay getting disrespected. Got to draw the line somewhere, man.
Be wild.
Oh, Washington is the Commanders now. I thought they
Right.
were still the football team. Mad Max says Joe 50. He's gonna change. So I don't think he's gonna change. He probably stubborn like Coop. Well, you know what? If that's the fact, then
This is what I mean about how like this is what A&Rs used to do. The A&R used to be the other strong personality in the room. They got the artist to respond and understand certain things. It's like the game don't work. Like no game works without middlemen. Politics, the mafia, gangs, clans in Italy, cliques and crews in your neighborhood. The motherfuckers doing the neighborhood watch on this block. All these old ass white people. Ain't nobody coming in this neighborhood, Mike. Ain't nothing but deer and woods around here.
Miss
Got a
LB
damn
says.
neighborhood watch, safest damn neighborhood in America. Anyway,
Miss LB says, and the Asian community, Coop, they got a hate bill passed immediately. It is.
hold on. A hate crime, part of the hate crime that happened down here, Mike, it happened up the street from my daughter's best friend's house. Like the nail salon that it happened at.
Yeah.
My daughter's been to that salon before. Like that was literally right next door. And so like, yeah, I can personally attest to the fact of like, I watched that happen up here and the bill goes through. Like that was my neighborhood.
Mad Max says, K-Dot just used that word though on the album, Mike. Did he? Oh no, he used it. No, here we go. We got to put things in context, Mad Max. He used it in context of a song where he was denigrating his past usage of the word. He didn't just go out there and use the F word all willy-nilly. He's talking about when he used it on Auntie's Diaries. No, he talked about how ignorant he was for using the word. That's when he used the word.
And how did he juxtapose it and end the song?
Yeah.
FFFF, but only if you let a white girl call you nigger.
Yeah.
Yep. It might be the most brilliant writing moment of the album and one of the best writing moments of his storied career.
I think that Auntie's Diaries, as much as I don't really go back and revisit that record, it's probably one of the best written songs of 2022, if not the best written song of 2022.
Oh, it's one of the best written songs that you'll just find, period.
Yeah.
Like, period. But we're talking about writing. I told you, The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner is some brilliant writing. Like, it's boring as fuck. Next.
Speaking of what's not boring, or going on to something that isn't boring, that Rome Streets album was fire.
It is. It's
an album that and I hate to throw another artist in this, but this is the album that I personally wanted Joey Badass to make.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like, just when I got aware of Joey, man, I knew about Joey since he was like 17, 18. But just what him and Capital Steez was doing, I thought we were going to get an album like this from him at some point in his career. And I like Joey's music. But this Rome Streets, man, he going for it. And the features on here, everybody's going for it. And that's like, I love Benny's verse on here. And I love Conway's verse on there. I feel like everybody stepped it up because he was bringing it. And the beats, the production, man, Conductor went crazy on this album.
So this is what I'm about to say.
Mm-hmm.
Not the production is better than Soul Sold Separately, but some of these beats, Mike, just on some rap shit. It's just like, oh my God. Yeah. It's like, oh, like that's wonderful. It's just on some raps mixtape shit.
Yeah, it's a hardcore shit.
Right. It doesn't feel. How about this? This album is great because the songs are great. It doesn't feel like an album, really wasn't put together like an album. And content wise, I mean, I get the title of the album is Kiss the Ring. So it's like, it's a Flex album with Flex Records. But it's like, and this is what I'll say. Well, you can't beat the Organized album that's just as well produced.
Yeah, but I think this album did what it was supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. How about, I think what I told you is I think this is better than Stove the God's Reasonable Drought, and that's high praise.
Yeah, that's high praise. I'm not sure if I'm there yet, but that's high praise. I like it a lot.
How about this? From beginning to end, it's a better project. He just doesn't have those moments like Stove does where you're like, that guy's a star. Like Break the Pyrex, it's like, no, Stove's a star.
Yeah.
Money Puddles, Stove's a star. So Rome doesn't have that, but from beginning to end, a better project. Once again, Mike, Stove and Benny. Oh, Stove showed out too, Mike. Stove's a star. Like
I
Benny
think
has
this
a better
might
verse.
that might be my favorite song on the album.
It is my favorite
Blow
song.
for
That
Blow.
might be the best beat on there too, Mike. The
Yeah.
beat is crazy. I heard that. That's one of those beats when I heard it, I was like, that make me want to rap again.
Yo, Conductor was going crazy on here.
He went
man.
crazy on there. And it's definitely the best selection of beats Conductor's ever put together.
That's saying a lot. I fuck with Conductor. Badly said
on one project for the amount of work that he did for one project, yeah, like that's the best production work that he's done. And in all honesty, and here's my main takeaway from the Rome Streets album. Oh, you can tell Westside put this shit together. This sounds better than the other Griselda projects this year, quite frankly.
Westside is a genius when it comes to putting together projects.
Because like, isn't this better than Tana Talk 3 to you? I mean, Tana Talk 4? Isn't this better than Tana Talk 4 to you?
I like it better. I'm going to be honest.
Me too.
I need to go back and listen because I think...
No, I just went back and listened to Tana Talk 4.
What I will give Tana Talk 4 is the fact that it does have those structures, but this one right here is just, like you said, on some mixtape rap shit.
How about this? This is what I mean. Think about the back two times with Stove, and then think about the Stove and Benny record on here, What's Winning.
Yeah.
You feel me? Think about putting the Conway record, Tyson versus Ali versus the Conway record on here. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
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 Badly says, women say that they don't like B or H words and no one stopped. It's a little different because they say it too on records. And you know, we got, and Trina just got a Lifetime Achievement Award and her debut album's The Baddest Bitch. So, you know.
And you have to understand, there are some women that literally don't respond to men unless he literally talks to her like, bitch, bring your ass here. Like, there are women like that will tell you, it's like, no, I don't respond unless my nigga talk to me that way. You're like, oh, okay, you need therapy and a hug and a psychological evaluation afterwards. But okay.
Let me get through these super chats because I know they're kind of behind on the subject real quick.
Oh, we are?
Jay Short says, let's keep it 100. Joe wasn't popular enough in the 90s to create a controversy over the use of the N-word. Wasn't nobody buying the album to hear it. He was a singles artist, and people heard edits.
You want to know what? I would agree with that, except for I very vividly remember him on Lean Back say, niggas be mad. Like, doesn't he say that on that third verse? Niggas be mad when I'm in the building, so that's why something with the chinchilla hurt they feeling. So no, he doesn't use the N-word on his biggest song. Like his biggest song is Lean Back. He's using the N-word on Lean Back. So it's not true.
007 with the super chat says Styler's retiring in 2023.
Who?
Stylers. You talking about Styles P? He says, but we'll do 2 more albums. How much do our older rappers have left in the tank? Do Cole or others pick up the slack? I think you might be talking about Styles P.
I don't believe that. Styles loves to rap too much, unless he's just literally spiritually in another place where he feels like it might be conflicting with some things. But that's what he said. Niggas be mad when you worth some millions. That's why I sport the chinchilla. I hurt their feelings. You can catch Fat Joe all types of event. Front row down in Vegas at the fights and shit. That's him on Lean Back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's using the N-word on Lean Back. That's his biggest hit record. So he's been getting away with this for a long time.
Yeah. Andre Shashir says Ahmaud Arbery's mom was pissed at Kanye wearing the shirt too. She called it a mockery to Black Lives Matter. I bet she was, you know. She lost her son.
Well, that platform use dead black bodies as a platform to nefariously, like, and organizationally and structurally make themselves millionaires for certain people and left those people without nothing, and their children are still gone. So, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and the fight really didn't even fight on either. But that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother election cycle, but whatever.
I love Conductor's Tag too. Somebody said Conductor's Tag is great. Yeah, that what song was it where he just kept? It was like Conductor. Yeah, he was going crazy. Yeah, I love the production on this album. I'm a fan of it.
I like that. I always liked it more, Mike, and maybe this is get off my lawn. I always liked it more when you knew the producer from the style of beat and they didn't have to say a fucking word. It's like, no, that's Dre, that's Havoc, that's Primo, that's Pete Rock, that's Q-Tip. That's I can hear him. I can
When
hear
did
him.
we
That's
get
them.
to
That's
that point?
DJ Quick.
When did we
Like
get
DJ
to
Quick and
that
Dr.
point?
Dre don't have no damn hashtag or nothing.
When
You
did
know
we
what I'm
get to
saying?
when did we get to that point, and who do you
I
think
don't know. I just
started
don't like it
this?
that much for a producer because it's like the rappers struggle enough as it is to find the tagline.
Well, who has the best tag? Off the top of my head, I say Metro. Who do y'all think started it in the chat? Because I think the first time I really heard it was Mike Will made it. I think.
I don't know. Definitely, Mike Will's in that conversation. I love Wheezy out of here. Wheezy out of here. Wheezy out of here.
Nah, that Metro don't touch you. Shit. Yeah, I'll
You're
be
right, Mike.
waiting for
It's
that.
Metro. It's Metro.
I'll be
It's
waiting for
Metro.
that shit to come.
No, it's Metro. Metro has the best tagline. Hit Boy got a tagline like somebody just said. I was thinking about Just Blaze, but it's like I don't know. Some people that it's like it's Funk Master Flex-ish.
Yeah, yeah. I think that this might have started. They say Maybach Music. Did
Maybach
that
Music.
started?
There it is. They have the best
Justice
one.
League. Did that start it?
Yeah. That's them, Mike. Justice League, Maybach Music. Yeah, that's them. It's them. And that's the best tagline too. Because you know when it says that, it's about to sound sexy. Like the production on this album, the Soul Sold Separately album, sound like Rick Ross would have picked the beats. That's how good the production is. Like the Justice League track, Rabbit Vision, that might be his best mic performance on the album.
I think so too. We keep talking about this,
Freddie. But it fixed my vision. That's what I'm saying. Listen to what he's saying on the hook. A lot of shit, it broke my heart, but it fixed my vision. Yasin and Talib are not about to talk to you on that level like that you can understand. They not. They don't. They literally specialize in talking above you and getting you to buy into the bullshit. No more of it. I'm tired of the bullshit. Give me Freddie. Tired of the bullshit. No, I grew up with the bullshit, Mike. It's just we grown now, so I can see them for who they are, really.
You know,
it's easier when we all kids.
It is easier when we're all kids because we look to the people that are older and smarter and like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. I don't. But then when you get old enough where you're like, well, we know similar things, you can't really talk crazy now.
Right.
You gotta talk
like,
to me.
I believe all that black science and knowledge when I'm 15 and you're 18 and 19, but it's like, no, fam, you 45, I'm 41.
Now you gotta talk to me. You can't talk at me.
Right. You saying some fuck shit right now. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Not like that. That's the wrong way to say it, but it's like, well, them comments that you're making, they're not resonating with me the way they resonated with the child in me, the teenager in me. Yeah. Like, talk to me like the grown up and the man that I am. You talk like a grown up and like a man too. How about that? And we both gonna meet in the middle.
Well, man, it is going on 9:00 over here, man. We got to get up out of here. What I was gonna say,
we have to actually have to eat food at some point.
Yeah, what were you gonna rate this album? Because this is another difficult one. I think this is a very good album, but it does, where it lacks is where it wasn't trying to go in the first place. You know what I mean?
Right. So that's why it's hard to rate. So here's what I would tell you. I think song for song, it's better than the Benny album, but I would probably give it the same rating because the Benny album does some things album-wise that this doesn't do. And so, do you think it's better than the JID album?
I don't.
And so the JID is a 4.5, and we have Benny at 4.4, and we have JID at 4.5. I'm cool with sliding this right next to Benny at 4.4.
I'm with that.
Yep.
And I know Talib has an issue with people rating stuff so fast, but this is the world we live in.
I don't even want to touch that because that's one of those things that lets me know that you're out of touch. That's what I mean. It's like no.
You talking about the Source magazine when they would give people albums 6 months in advance? Like, listen, man.
First of all, it wasn't 6 months in advance. You weren't around when that was happening. So stop lying. That's the first part that he's lying about, Mike. He doesn't know anything about handing no album in no 6 months in advance. If your album is taking 6 months to come out, that's because you're not selling enough and you're on a block burn.
Let's be 100% real, though. Let's be real.
Like,
if you turned in an album in late '97 and it doesn't come out until like March or let's just say May of '98, your shit's outdated now. There's no
correct.
way. There's no way that you could create an album in '97 and it sounds like it fits in the lexicon of '98.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that, Mike, do you think, let's go to 98. Do you think, how long do you think Def Jam took to release It's Dark and Hell is Hot, Mike?
Not long at all.
You want to know why? Because they had It's Dark and It's Hell is Hot on their hands.
Yeah.
And so when he's talking about them 6 months waits, it's like, no, fam, that's you and the quality of the music not being there for the label to feel comfortable with it. Because I guarantee you in 1998, the moment of truth, when they heard that, the moment of truth, they were like, we got to get this album out, get these guys some single. When they heard It's Dark and Hell is Hot, Aquemini, Volume 2. Nah,
Well, let's look at
3 months,
Jay.
maybe 4.
Let's look at Jay because he came out every single year. Reasonable Doubt sonically sounds distinctively different than Volume 1. Volume 1
Yes.
sounds like 97. Volume
Yes.
2 sounds like 98. Volume
Yes.
3 sounds like 99. He
Yes.
wasn't holding these albums for 6 months.
No, he's holding
You
them for like
can't.
60 days.
Exactly. You can't. The whole sound was changing. 95
Like,
sounds
literally-
different than 96, which sounds different than 97, 98. You can't afford to hold an album for 6 months.
Hold on. In album mode,
You
back
can't.
then, you would drop a single while when you got to about the third or halfway recording point of your album to get ready for your buzz.
Exactly.
And so within those 5 to 7 records, your single would come out and then you would finish your album and your album would drop and your second single would be dropping when your album's dropping. It might be
Exactly.
a 90-day experience.
Exactly. Eric
I don't know
Terrell
where
with the
you're getting
super
6
chat.
months from. It's like, no, that's an album getting shelved when it takes 6 months.
No, you're right. Eric Terrell with the super chat says Teddy Riley said, "Yep, and all his songs in the '80s." That was the first tagline.
Yep, Teddy.
Oh, we're gonna
Yep,
take it
yep,
back.
yep.
Well, what did Babyface say in his records? All right, let's get up out of here, man.
Hold on, we one more thing.
Uh-huh.
We do have to rate Soul Sold separately.
We didn't rate that. I thought we did. We went on
I don't
long tangents on Friday. I think we ended up rating it.
I don't think so. If so, what was the rating? Because I damn sure
I
don't
think it
remember.
was like a 4.8 or something.
If it is, that's the same rating as the Black Star. So now we definitely have to put them up against each other.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, and this is me going back and listening to this album, Mike, I think the only record that you might skip is The Pain and Strife. The rest of this album is great. It's not classic, but it's great.
Yeah.
It's got legs everywhere. Like, think about this. Like, he's comfortable putting stuff like Gold Rings with Pusha T at track 12.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
That record is crazy. That's one of those records that usually, when your album's not a classic, you put a feature like that in the first 4 or 5 songs to give your album legs. His album is so good, he's like, no, that's closer stuff.
And actually, that's one of the best verses on the album, too. Push's verse, so.
I mean, and just real quick, and this not to take anything away from Gibbs, but that's why I hold Pusha so high. It's like when I hear Pusha on Palm Olive next to Gibbs, and when I hear him on Gold Rings next to Gibbs, and I love Gibbs the way that I am, and Gibbs is a great MC, and he's been one of the 5 to 7 best MCs of the last 10 years, in my opinion. Pusha T is on another level, Mike. He's a Jada Kiss level type of lyricist.
I agree.
It's a Jada Kiss level. Like Pusha T's a Jada Kiss level type of lyricist. And so not fair to Benny Conway or Gibbs in that regard when he's rapping next to them, because I know the lingo and the jargon and the rhetoric is comparable. It's like, oh, you're not him. That's today's Cool G rap. That's what I've been saying for years.
Oh, you're going to get people heated with that one. Well, let's talk Friday.
He's the modern day Cool G rap. Yes.
Let's talk Friday. Got some new music coming Friday. I'm looking forward to it. Great show.
Not no rings and shit, just my main squeeze.